Alright. Good evening, Club Cult. Incoming Serena spam. Welcome to Stream the Dreams Project. Oh no, what did I do? Purgatory. Purgatory. What did I break? Was there a duck sound in the song? It's weird. Are you going to load page? What did I come back to on this computer? What are you doing? There. Okay. Now I am back and mentally present. I don't know what just happened there. To be fair, I don't know what's happening with much lately. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. I wonder if this changed since TOS changed. No. Okay. Everything's where and how it's supposed to be. Sheesh. Let's go see Miss Peebs. Need some kitten. The Go Cam up. Welcome, Adam. Hope you're having a good night so far. Welcome. Tank test us on both sides. I thought that was going to be the Windows start sound. Do 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 do. That was strange. What am I doing? I'm setting up our on-the-go camera. We're going to hop in with my little foster kitten for a few get her probiotics, and we gotta give her some antibiotics too. She has a little cold. Poor baby. Last night on stream, she had a wicked eye boogie. And then this morning, she started doing the schneezels real big. So I texted my vet. I'm like, she was on these antibiotics when she was a baby. Does the dosage change? And yes, she went up from 1/4 ml to 1 ml. Hydration's complete. You flip over our camera. Aw, boy, yeah. Why? Why you disconnect and reconnect on me? Obs. You're rude. It's extremely rude. That happened yesterday too. I don't know why that's happening. That's so weird. Was that about the same time into stream? Is it an OBS issue? Went for about 3 minutes before without crashing. Now went for about 6 minutes without crashing. It's bizarre. It's very bizarre. I don't know. Hopefully it'll stay connected. That would be nice. Oh, I like this one. I turn on the lights. Boy, you're in the spotlight. Very fancy. Fancy boy. Fancy man taking over the world. Rhymes. That door is so easy and sometimes it's stubborn. A goof. Hi, Sissy Lala. Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama. Hi, baby Mama. Snuggle off the goose. Let me love you. Let me love you. I know we're both snuffly bills today. There you go, Goose. There you go. You're perfect. You're perfect. You're perfect. You go, you're Marco, kiddo. Hello. Are you awaiting my arrival? I love you. Oh. You're such a little gremlin. You're such a little gremlin. Oh my goodness. Am I allowed to walk? No, we went to Feats. We went to Feats. Okay. GG's. Welcome, Cygenics. I hope the weekend has been kind to you. Once PB is good and swaddled, she has no choice but to be loved. True. It's very true. Swaddle her in my bathrobe in the morning. She's such a little gremlin. He's such a little gremlin. I don't know if there's about 6 mil left in here, but somewhere close to that there is. I have to give you your medicine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do it after milk. I'd like to give her the chance to, like, wash it down with something, but I don't know if she'll drink the other stuff after the medicine. Trying to think of a witty name for your dad, because you call my dad Father TV. Father Genix. That sounds like biblical. It's awesome you got to spend time with family. Yay. I'm sure that was very appreciated. Now that it's getting warmer, did you get roped into outside work? Or just spend some quality time? Yeah, Father from the Book of Genix. Sounds a bit more religious than I meant it to. Peebs! Not even any milk tonight? Regardless of your enjoyment of the milk or not, we do have to do your medicine. She's like, oh wait, okay, I'll come back. Come here. That's her name. That's how you beckon her. Kind of. Do you want the rest of this? Do you not have a big appetite today? Oh, you didn't eat a lot of your food, but you spilled your whole bowl of water. Okay. Did you go for a swim? How did you spill all of that? Do you want the rest of this or no? Children. Monkey. Monkey. Hey, Curious George. Curious Georgina. Peebers. You booped your nose on it. There you go. Kind of. See, my nose is snuffly. It's hard to drink the milk, Mama. I get it. Oh, I just splooted that at you. I'm sorry. You're a messy girl tonight. Okay. I know when I've been defeated. Little sploot. Little sploot. We do gotta do your meds though. That was non-negotiable. You had a choice with the milk. You don't really have a choice with the meds, sissy girl. I hate to break it to you. It's cooling down a little bit for you. Nice. A nice low 70s. Aw. So you had the day today that I had yesterday. It was indeed very nice out. I envy you. We got chilly again today. Dinner bell was ringing, and now the meds bell is ringing. I'm gonna be able to get 1 mil out of here for you. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Come here, sis. I have to torture you. I'm sorry. Hello. Hello. I know. I know I'm being lazy and I could just go to her for it, but I also don't want to make her feel chased down for medicine. I'm sorry. She's such a good girl. She just takes it. Stripes and Daisy and Nibbler would just like make the most awkward little face about it. Got a little too fast. I'm sorry. It's awkward to do drop her medicine. No, we're gonna have a little cough. Poor Bean. I'm sorry, sissy. It's okay. This might be empty now. Almost. Do another bottle. Cough it up. Cough it up. This makes me internally panic when she does this, but my vet said it's fine. It just means a little bit went down the wrong pipe, and it's not the end of the world. It's not like she's gonna aspirate and choke on it. Even though my every instinct says it's the end of the world, it's an emergency. She's fine. She's fine. I just freak out. Maybe that's what it is. Like they're genetically street cats, but they only ever knew the comfort of a home. And they were spoiled babies. PB's like, dang, this is a lot better than those stink bugs outside. They honestly are so spoiled. Stripes and Nibbler have the best life, and Daisy is the most spoiled that ever could be. Even when Sylvester got her, she didn't even fight back. She was just like, she ran and hid, and she was like shocked that anyone could ever be mean to her. Because no one has ever been mean to her, because Void didn't discipline them. And my dad figured out a good new system for her and Sylvester to coexist, which I appreciate. Daisy is such a princess. I miss her. I gotta go see her soon. I gotta go see my dad soon. I guess I miss my dad too, but I miss Daisy. I miss Stripes and Nibbler, but they're a little bit further than a quick trip away. You put this in the sink, sis. Hi, I miss you. I don't understand what her thought process is. I think she loves me and she misses me, or she's at least curious. She climbs over to the chair and watches the door when I leave, but then I come back in and she's like, ha 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 ha, runs away. You do that under the blanket, because I don't want you to poop on chairs, and you're gonna get stuck. This doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You want your tunnel. Get your tunnel. Daisy is such a princess. Aww. I would love to flood Discord with a bunch of pictures of Daisy. I wonder how big she is now. I want to see her tail. I want to compare her tail. I should have like actually measured it and done like a growth chart for her tail. I think she's going to end up being really big. September to October, October, November, November, December, January, February, March. She's 6 months old. Aww. That's how old Munster was when he shit all over me. What are you, the boot scoot boogie? Don't show the world that. Don't do that. You don't need to tell the world that you have a leaky butt. It wasn't embarrassing or anything. Not for me, but for her. Have you lost any more teeth? I don't see any more yet. That one might be. Is it? No, it's just a fuzz. I thought it might be. Expecting your tail to fill the whole house. Like in Alice in Wonderland when Alice is in the White Rabbit's house and she eats the candies. And then she's as big as the house inside of the house. That's what we expect my dad's house to look like. Peepers. You open the front door and Floof, gray Floof, just comes out at you. What you doing? Your butt is really bothering you tonight, girlfriend. I just started her antibiotics today. I don't think they can be upsetting her tummy that much already. Baby, we just off your blanket before bed. She's not making it dirty, but I feel like it's dirty when they do that. Like there's micro germs. Girlfriend, what has your tummy been doing today? Being upset? Peepers. He's just looking at me like, nothing is wrong, nothing happened. I'm just a crazy baby. Boo. Peekaboo. Peekaboo. Oh, she. Oh, holy hoarder. She conned her way out of Peekaboo, and she's been hoarding springs under here. See, she leaves all of her stuff in a pile. Those were all together under the chair. Here's another one. Like they're all friends or something. I don't know. There's 2 other toys under there that I'm not reaching for. Peeps, what do you have to say about this? See, this is my pile of toys. Don't touch my pile of toys. It's specifically all of the springs together. That's hilarious. Do you have OCD? Do you have OCD? Gotta do your PB circles? Probably a safe assumption to assume that it's dirty after the boot scoot. Yeah. Just by the rule of contact germs. You know, the average person, you know, when you're wiping your ass, even if the toilet paper comes back to you completely white again, you're probably not going to rub it on your face. And that's the logic I have for the boot scoot boogie. You and your little boot scoot. You have a funny looking butt because it got shaved. Her little bunny hops are everything. I really wonder if she's ever going to have like a sorted out tummy. I'm kind of thinking not. Munster had a funky tummy for like the first year that I had him chronically, and then he had a funky tummy like at random for the rest of his life. I think she'll probably be in the same boat. It also makes me wonder if Munster was maybe a coronavirus carrier, and if that's how the last litter and her ended up with it. But Daisy Stripes and Nibbler ended up testing negative for it, so we were able to get rid of it. But with her, maybe she's just a carrier again. Ow! Jesus, your nails are long. Gooby, gooby, gooby. Gooby, gooby, gooby. Most cats, when they come in contact to a carrier, they can fight off the disease. So it's not a big deal. Like, obviously, none of my other ones in the house have the poops. Just means I would need to be extra, extra careful with more fosters in the future. I was talking to my vet about that. Like, if it's happened twice now, it's not a coincidence. Though it is still possible that Daisy Stripes and Nibbler brought it back from the rescue. You never know. You're such a silly little worm tonight. Stop drinking Corona beer in protest. PB says, I got some hidden under here. You want a drink? Goofy goof. I'm grateful it's not something more serious, but I think you're gonna have a funky tummy. I think so. I think so. Part of the reason I think it would be best to keep her as well is you would be a little messy in someone else's house if you have the blankets on the chairs and whatnot. I'm keeping this information to myself because I don't want to embarrass you, PB, but she just be walking around sometimes and has a little dribble. If we catch my drift on that. Not a yellow dribble. Unfortunately / fortunately. And I wouldn't want to put that on someone else either. Though you never know. The right person would just love her for it no matter what, like with Daisy. My dad went from having 1 litter box downstairs to 4 litter boxes in the house with 1 upstairs having Daisy, so I'm still shocked by that. My literal entire life, 32 years of existence. 1 litter box downstairs. And then you bring Daisy into the mix and suddenly there's 4 and 1 is upstairs. I just love that. I love how much my dad loves her. It's beautiful to see. You're such an idiot. I don't know if she does that on purpose for the thrill or if she really hasn't figured out that there's a blanket cover on there. I think it's for the thrill. She looks like she's enjoying it. You crazy? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? You sure as heck are. Daisy broke the mold indeed. It must have been the shock that my dad and his brothers had when my grandpa loved me so much. Like, he's capable of this? We were spoiled by grandpa. We were. Bloop, bloop. You didn't even give me a chance to poke your butt. Aw, you're using the arms of it. I'm proud of you. You were so sneezy this morning. You're not sneezy at all tonight, which is wonderful. I can't help it. I got it. The butt. I can't help it. Get it. Get it. You could do it. You could do it. No? Peekaboo. Welcome, Smoops. Are we having a wonderful weekend so far? Peavy says, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. You flumed. You flumed. Alright, can we swap out your blankie? Because you did the boots boot boogie. I'd like to swap that out, please. See butt, touch butt. It is the way. I can't help it. I just can't help it. I gotta touch the butt. I'm like Nemo swimming out to sea. I gotta touch the butt. You unhinged little being. You have so many toys. Good God. A Rockstar on sale for $1. Dang. Rockstar cans are like monster can size. That's a good deal, right? I don't think I've ever had Rockstar. Nice, nice, nice. 7-Eleven serves the soul. She's a zoomy girl. Fuck yeah, for a third of the price. That's incredible. Do it, do it, do it. Their purchase limit, stock up enough for the month. And you move your toys. It's like, oh no, what is this crazy lady doing now? There's Red Ball. You lost Red Ball. That was your first toy. Not this one. No, maybe this one. It has the chew marks on it. It's your first toy. Oh, you found the shiny one? This one reminds me of the bubble that the Good Witch comes down in The Wizard of Oz. Another spring. You have so many springs. You have so many springs. Oh my goodness. Alright, laundry pile. Laundry pile is not going to work in here. I'm so sad. I have to throw away one of my favorite pillows. Because for whatever reason, PB peed on it. I think she was just mad at me because this week was a long week and she didn't get the most of me that she usually gets. And she peed on my pillow. I am so happy about that. Let me clean up your wall too, sissy. Oh, this is Pibby's blanket and it has a bunch of pills on it. I don't think I want to give you that one. Like fabric pills, not like pills. Here, you want to be $1 million baby? $1 million baby. You can tell Grandpa thank you for this one. $1 million baby. Gonna figure out a flavor of Ben and Jerry's. I have no suggestions. I do like their assortment of like vegan, like dairy free, which is nice, but at the same time, they don't have enough. Wish they had more. I think I've seen that Halo has some dairy free. My niece likes Halo. Rip pillow indeed. It's one of my favorite memory foam pillows. And it got tinkled, which is okay. You learned. Welcome, Sarah. Hope you're having a good night so far. Appreciate them doing the anti-hero stories like Wicked and Maleficent. I can't say that. It's a lot more interesting story than just good is good and bad is bad. Wicked was very well done. We saw it, I don't know, at some point before I had read the books. And it was pretty amazing, but I also fell asleep through it. I don't know, I was young. I was like 11, something like that. Hi, Biba. The theater we saw it at was really cool because there was like a dragon over the stage. It was really amazing. That's all I really remember about it. You're all hooked up. But the books were so good. They were so good. Decided on banana cream pie. Was that good? Have you had that before? The ice cream flavor. Although I don't think I've had banana cream pie or banana ice cream before at all. That's an interesting flavor. I feel like that would either be phenomenal or terrible. No in between. No in between. It wasn't even Ben and Jerry's. What brand was it then? Well, that's not very spreading love for you. It's because I got all these big thoughts in my brain. PB gets to live the simple life. That's why she has a small head. Ain't that right, sissy girl?
It's so hard to see her wings because she never stops moving. I think I found her. Look. Wow.
Feeling is probably mutual.
Which one is she, Phoebes? Queen Bee is orange, like the orange dress Queen Beija wears when she performs. Oh yeah.
How can you guys be so grumpy with a baby kitten in the room? Honestly. I really hope life gets better, because if it's that bad when you're in the presence of a little baby kitten, it's gotta be pretty bad. I wish you all the best. We'll be crossing fingers and paws for you. Back massage? No. Aww. Aww. It was the 7-Eleven brand. Dang. They have some, don't climb the tripod. They have some unique flavors. Like, I'm kind of surprised at the selection of, like, assortment that they have. Welcome, Panda. Key lime I've had. Not ice cream, but, like, yogurt flavors. And I've made key lime pie before, and it's very good. But never banana cream. Although I've never been a fan of banana-flavored things. Banana flavor and cherry flavor and orange flavor is weird to me. I like bananas. I kind of like oranges, and I like cherries. But anything flavored like that is strange. Tank would like it. Tank likes banana flavor. Tank's favorite snack is when he gets dewormer. Eat the baby bee. Only miserable people spread misery. True. I'm gonna be so sad when PB's all grown up and not a little baby anymore. My little parrot. My little butt parrot. He's so tiny and sweet. Cherry flavored things kind of remind you of meds. Yeah. It's like Robitussin, but yassified. It's not okay. Oh, I didn't put the rest of your toys back on your binky. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm just like, God, do I have to do everything around here? No, that's my job. I do everything. Still can't believe you hoarded all of the springs together underneath the thing. There you go, little dragon. Just keep loading her up with more toys. She's like, yes, my precious, my precious. I'm so happy. Say, but it's not enough. I want more. Okay, maybe it is enough. Maybe. I'm a fishy. Fishy's gonna swim over to you. He's gonna say, oh, Petey. Oh, Petey. Give you fishy kisses. You're such a little monkey. I'm so silly. They say what's grape? Oh, see, I like grape flavored things, but I don't think I had a lot of grape flavored medicine. The one grape flavored medicine I remember we had was the triaminic or triaminicin something strips that would like make your throat numb, and those were good. I liked those. I liked those very much. Ever watch the show Taskmaster? Taskmaster? That's hard to say. And yes, I think I've at least seen snippets of it on YouTube. I think Cygenics has suggested it to me before. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's been mentioned before. I haven't avidly watched it, but I'm aware of it. Depends on the type of cherry for you. Like black cherry flavored stuff is usually good.
She said a big boy like us.
It's a toy overload. A toy overload. Black cherry, I feel like gets too extra sweet for me. I don't know. It's unless it's like an actual cherry. I can't do cherry flavored stuff.
She wants to dance with me.
I had a couple of seltzers with that flavor. Nice. I thought that would be good. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. Welcome to PB on my foot. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It's a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. She's so strange and silly. I thought so. Thank you for the confirmation. It was very nifty. It was very, very nifty. It was very appreciated. Very appreciated. PB and I spent much time observing the YouTubes. Hey, monkey. Or maybe Voya and I watched it. I don't know. I'm always on the mend. Started watching it a few years ago, but you've been binging it lately. Nice. What has been your favorite episode that you've seen? I'm curious. I'm curious. You do have an overload of toys. She's never growing up. She's a Toys R Us kid. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Don't pull the cord again. Sis. Doop, doop, doop. There you go. Get your toys and your acorn too. I gotta grab a towel so I can mop up the water she spilled. Hi. This is a horrible habit to implement with you, but I don't care because it's cute. It's cute. Blurp. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Don't forget to say thank you.
That's not exactly how it works. You're early for the show, but everyone has to stand in line and put their name on the sign-up sheet. Whoopsies, we skipped the line. Sorry, everybody. Well, while you wait in line, two of my favorite grandkids want to help with the sign-up sheet. What's a sign-up sheet? This sign-up sheet does 3 important things. Here it tells us who's going to be in the show. Here's where I'll write what their talent will be. And finally, I'll know who's going to be in between. Oh, yeah. Our teacher had a sign-up sheet when everyone wanted to play with science toys at school. Some neighbors have already signed up. First, Lupe and Yolo are going to make their family salsa. Next, Maddie will be his fashion dance. Then, Mr. Girl is going to do an exercise in his routine. That's a lot of terms to remember. And you haven't written them down. Oh, I can draw pictures next to the names to help you remember what everyone's gonna do, Grandma. Oh, thanks, baby. That's a great idea. Lupe and Yolo are making salsa. That's spicy. So I'll draw pepper next to their names. And a paintbrush for me. He's gonna paint his pants.
Okay.
Then Mr. Girlie's gonna do his exercises. You should draw something stretching.
I don't think I want this blanket for you. Number 1 is Pippi's. Number 2 has so many fabric pills on it. I want you to eat the fluffies. You gotta stop up your spills. Favorite task you didn't think I would be the best photo of yourself midair. Oh, that's so hard to do. The amount of times at conventions that I've looked like an idiot jumping up and down with my phone recording so I can try and screenshot the perfect little air kick flip. It's lemon, difficult. Do they only get one try with it? There's a series that had Fern Brady in it, like the Brady Bunch. She's a comedian that you knew and liked the most because she would make you laugh. Aww. I wonder if I would enjoy that. I'm picky with comedians, only in the way of like I'm an absolute buzzkill, and if something isn't like perfectly attuned to my sense of humor, it annoys me. I'm terrible that way. Oh! Oh god. Someone ended up jumping on a trampoline with a kettle of milk next to a guy in a pigeon. That sounds messy and gross and stinky. Should have been up there with bird seed, not milk. Pigeons don't eat milk. It depends on the tasks. You get to try more than once. Others you get to try in one attempt. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Fern Brady's a crazy cat lady. You'd like her? Oh, she sold me on that one. Whether her comedy is even good or not, she sold me already. At least it probably doesn't get Jackass gross. I haven't seen it get Jackass gross anyway. Jackass gross is only tolerable to some extent. I can tolerate pretty much everything except Nutball and Steve-O puking. Dude pukes so much. So much. How did you spill? Did you really go swimming? I think you tried to go swimming. That's so much spill. It's so much. How'd you do that much? I don't know. You're magical. Ah! You almost turned into my toes. Girlfriend. Get your PB Pellegrino. Let me top up your kibbles. Just in case. Let me get it filled from the big bag to the tiny bag. In the morning. No, not tonight. Mom is tired tonight. There you go. All full. All empty. And all full. But not awful. Which is good.
Hello there, kiddos. Hi, Miss Jean. Do you ever get nervous before you yodel?
An episode you watched recently had them paint something by dribbling food out of their mouth. I mean, that's adventurous. That's a choice. I wonder what's more accurate now is trying to like write words with food dribbling out of your mouth, or trying to like pee into the snow with boy parts. Obviously, you don't get much aim with girl parts. They don't shit on stuff. Well, that's good. That's a relief. Oh. Ew. Wet teeth? I mean, like, all teeth are wet in your mouth, but, like, I don't want to think about that. That is nauseating. There's something wrong there. They took that one too far. That's too much. That was much too much. Oh, God. What is wrong with those two people that tasted it? Oh, my God. They are working on another Jackass. Johnny, no. Well, I'm sure Johnny Knoxville is involved in it, but Bam Margera has been heavily involved in it again. And somewhere along the lines of, what did I read exactly recently? I can't remember the details, but the gist of it is that Jackass is coming to Kick. They're facing a lot of restrictions with their YouTube streaming. Bam Margera specifically, but Jackass in general. And so they're working on switching over to Kick. But Kick just updated its TOS the 19th, which I didn't know about. I need to read through all of it and figure out like what changed, what's different, etc. But they're working on getting their way over to Kick. I apologize. I'm fighting off like a little cold. Apparently every time I go to any kind of rescue place, not just CACC, I get a cold, which makes sense, I guess, kind of. And secondly, I'm a little bit allergic to Almost Gunther, as I'm a little bit allergic to anyone new that comes into the vicinity. So we're a bit crackly tonight. They are working on another Jackass movie or series, I don't remember in general. And then they're working on switching over their streaming to Kick because YouTube is too restrictive. I it'll be interesting to watch that one play out. Fingers crossed for unused dentures, I guess. I guess I didn't consider that it wouldn't be used teeth. Hopefully it wasn't used teeth. Maybe just like a dental model. Even if it wasn't just a dental model, don't tell me differently. I don't want to know. I'm gonna lay my line down on ignorance is bliss right now. There's a game show where they ate fake. Ew. Even fake. Ew. 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 Was it a Fear Factor? Although Fear Factor, it wouldn't be fake. Fear Factor, I could never stomach. It would make me vomit just thinking about it. They had better been sanitary for health and safety reasons. I mean, you could sign a waiver long enough that would like get you out of any issues for it, or keep the production company from having any issues with it. But I got to move on from the teeth thing. That makes me feel physically ill. I think peeing in the stove is more control for sure. I would imagine so. But I mean, like, people paint with their mouth, and I like with a brush in their mouth, and I've never heard of someone putting like a paintbrush in their pee hole to paint that way. I mean, I don't want to know if anyone's ever done it because that makes me uncomfortable, even though I don't have boy parts, but it made me curious on many levels. Mouth control versus penis control. There's a dirty joke there somewhere. More of a Braille approach with girl parts. You're not wrong. Not wrong. Oh, can't say I ever tried to spell anything with my P or P. I don't think I've peed in the snow. No. If I have, I don't know I did it, or I just don't remember doing it, but I don't think I've done it. Oh, Pooh Bear. When I was like 3 or 4, I peed in my snowsuit. That's about all I've got for that one. My godparents were trying to potty train me, and it was a snowy weekend. And they did succeed in potty training me, but not before we got all into my snow clothes. And then I decided it was time to use the bathroom, not knowing that I apparently wasn't wearing a diaper. I don't remember those. I've just been told. I was potty trained in one weekend, though, with Pez, like a dog. Every time I would do what I'm supposed to, I got Pez. And look at me now. I used the bathroom like a grown up. I'm sure Bam is going to be in this one because he's the only one that I've seen talking about it on socials. Like, not looking for it, but just scrolling through. It's the pre-convention cold. That's a good way of looking at it. It's sharpening up my immune system for the oncomings. Though I think if I would have gotten it from World of Wheels, it would have already happened. That was like the 7th. I started to feel it last night, but I thought I was just tired. And like the weather was different. But I mean, today I'm also tired and the weather is different, but I do feel coldy. I feel coldy, peebs. I do. Wonder if he has any history with gambling. Probably not legal gambling. Boop, 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 boop. Personality for the Jackass crew, I think, fits gambling. Yeah. I mean, betting on who's gonna get wonked and nutball first, I guess. I don't know if they've had Jackass games. I don't think so. But they've been friends with or involved with a lot of people that have been involved in gaming. So I guess like kind of by proxy, but not by actuality. Like X Games, but Jackass. Oh god. There's a PS2 Jackass game. What's the premise of it? I'm gonna look this up on YouTube. No way. Thieves. She's on her little circle missions. She doesn't care about me right now. You're a goob. You're a goob. Oops. Blurp blurp. You're supposed to come around the other side. There you are. We love you, Stinky. She's in her circles era. Boop. And now we tunnel. Dig a tunnel, dig a tunnel. Dig a tunnel, dig a tunnel. I think that was from Lion King 1.5. If I'm not mistaken. The Dig a Tunnel song. I need to look up this game. I need to know what is happening with this. I need context. I need visuals. I need knowledge. Peebers, I love you. I love you very much, little bean. My little sneezy queen. I'm glad you're feeling a little more perked up tonight. Maybe I feel so bad this morning. She's just walking around like girlfriend. Come on. It's okay. It's okay. Just breathe. Just breathe. Gunther is still doing the weird breathing that he was doing yesterday, but seems fine otherwise. So, should this continue, I'm going to call my vet about him. But obviously, if he gets any worse, we'll run up to emergency. Mr. Bean! You're a very handsome little machine. Flip us back. Jackass PS2. It's very big, 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 big water. I'm curious about Jackass and Gamba. And I'm stronger now. If I search Jackass Gambling, the game is the first one that comes up. The Gambling Jackass, 48 magic card tricks. It's 4 years ago. Hey, this is someone being cranky, it looks like. It's Reddit, so. So I guess Steve-O's been involved in gambling. I don't care what people are bitching about. Jackass the game.
Mind Pulp. Cool name.
What is happening with this? I need to know. I need to know. So many video games were made for so many things that didn't need them. I feel like especially in the PS2 era. Like video games were really, really, really super becoming a huge mainstream thing in that timeline. And there was so much being developed and so much being tried out and played with and worked with and experimented with. I made a game for everything. Like everything. You experience a lot of people in production like gambling. Why not risk it all and then risk it all some more? It's very big, 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 big water. It's deep and dark and dangerous. It's scary and something else that I don't remember. It's my favorite Land Before Time. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It was a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. You found a copy you can emulate. I recently read something across Reddit that you have to be careful streaming emulated games. I need to be mindful of that in the future, should we bop around with anything weird, but I don't quite understand it yet. But I'll figure it out at some point. I don't really understand what the issue with it is, but apparently it can be problematic. Blame me for this earworm. I sang the Dig a Tunnel song. That's the Lion King. It's completely different. Completely different. I haven't seen any of Steve-O's podcast. I know he has a podcast, but I haven't seen any of it. It's interesting, though. Full circle with the steak ads.
With a 2 million view of the weird Jackass PS2 game, I was big into the
PS2 hardware was very
era
simple
in my
and easy to
childhood,
work
and I
with.
played every
It was a
single
nice looking
Funday and
console,
every
too.
action
It was
sequence in
pretty.
Jason's game. I don't know how this
That much I
happened.
knew about it.
I did not know that there was a Jackass PS2 game, but I'm
I
very
think the bigger thing is showing how to get emulators working, more specifically ROMs. I'll figure it out at some point if we need to. But I never considered that would be an issue. You're just... I don't understand your video. I don't want to just watch content reacting to content without actually giving me the context of the content. Okay, what's the trailer? And then we'll check out some gameplay. Oh, is that what it is? That it's copyrighted? I guess that does make sense. I guess I assumed that at some point things would just be open source to the amount of time that they've been created, like how I have no brain cells tonight. I can't think of the word, but how something gets to be XYZ years old and then someone doesn't update the copyright or whatever the other word that I'm looking for it is, and then it's open source, it's free. And open source isn't even the right word. But I kind of assumed that's what had happened. Public domain, thank you. Not open source, public domain. I guess I just assumed after a certain statute of limitations that things would become public domain versus... And that's how emulators would be able to exist. I'm way too optimistic about how things are created. Yeah. I mean, it's just like the show. It looks okay. They don't look okay, but it looks okay. Oh my god. See, now I wonder if abandonware would fall under the guise of... Oh, I remember talking about it, and I think it just completely fizzled out. There was a modded version of CS2 that was attempting to be produced, and they had Valve's permission to use the map, and then at some point in the last couple years, Valve said, oh wait, haha, no you don't. We change our minds. What was it called? I don't even know if it was based off of CS2. I think it was just CS in general. What would it have been called? Classic Offensive. It was a fan-made remake, an historically unfinished official title. The 8-year passion project designed to bring CS 1.6 to CSGO was shut down by Valve via a cease and desist in 2025 due to intellectual property concerns. But they had Valve's permission at some point. I think just for the concept of the maps, and maybe they went too far and did the actual design of the maps or something. I don't know. was gonna say, I have Condition Zero on Steam. What do you mean? It was very sad. Ba-doom. What does it actually look like? Dev doesn't have any plans of reviving a game. Most people consider it abandonware, so you don't have to feel bad about downloading it. So you're downloading like an unfinished game to whatever extent, but there's no one you can pay to get it, so you just have to download it illegally, kind of. It is very sad. I was very excited for it because it seemed like a more serene and gentle Counter-Strike existence. And no. Just straight up got fucked. There's some loopholes you end up seeing in fan-made stuff using legitimate game assets as a workaround. I think that was what the issue was, is with the maps. They were too specific with the maps. If I remember correctly. It's very sad. Launch it! Launch it real good! This one recently for some Star Wars game that Disney canceled once they bought everything. Disney! I have words. Don't take away my Star Wars games. This is pretty good for the timing that it would have been released.
So here's the deal. You're the director, find the rest of the crew, shoot some funny stuff, and don't sprain your vagina.
I felt they had fun recording the voiceovers for it. Some fan programmers bought it into playable stat. Oh my god. So it does exist. Is it on Steam or is it abandonware? Is that how the Blair Witch Project ended up being released? I don't know what the premise of this is. Are you like Tomb Raidering your way through the stunts? Oh jeez. Oh, I couldn't do this. For PS2, this is pretty amazing. It's like very similar graphics to the Barbie horse game. I feel like they used... Oh, this is even less detailed. Hi, Ken. Right, I know the point is like being on the horse, but I'm trying to see like people close-ups. Jackass is better. Oh. See, now this is a game where we could all play and laugh while we're being destroyed, instead of me just laughing while I'm being destroyed. Willow is something that Disney owns, but isn't made available to watch anywhere. What's Willow? Get an abrasion bonus. It's not on Steam, at least not yet. Oh. It's very impressive. The environment in general, they did excellent details with. Let alone the tasks, the layout, the peoples. Like, there's a lot at play during this. This is ridiculous. I know it's meant to be ridiculous, but Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Abrasion bonuses at max. Did you see how many cacti he hit? Good god. Like, graphics-wise, I played a lot of the PS2 Barbie horse game because one of my gal pals at that time had a PS2 and we both loved horses. And she had the game. So we played a lot of it. That's my most experienced playthrough with the PS2. It's the most graphics I'm familiar with. And I feel like Barbie wouldn't skimp on the graphics, you know? Barbie is money. Smells like money. I was just curious how they compared. Compound injury bonus. Glorious. Welcome, Nikki. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Kind of reminds you of a lot of modern funny games with wacky ragdoll physics. They do be flipping around. Oh geez. Pool? Woo. Is he holding a golf club? Oh my gosh. Willow was a fairy tale-esque show with Warwick Davis. I don't know who that is either. It sounds like it would be cute though.
Elephant poo dive.
We'll come back to that. I don't know why, but I imagine this being animated bunny rabbits. Kind of like a Watership Down, but instead it's people. It's an American fantasy adventure television series based in serving as a sequel to the 1988 film Willow. Does that actually exist? Warwick Davis, the original actor of Willow of Good, the 1988 film, reprised his role for the show. Oh, this sounds good. Was it ever a book series? Why would they remove it? I really want to know, what does it actually hurt them to keep something on on there that people don't watch much of? Like, how much does that actually cost? I will pay you to just keep those things up there. Just kidding. I could just buy the thing myself. It sounds like a beautiful storyline. Frangie and then Rule. Rule. I feel like this movie is worth looking up. It looks very cute. The elephant poo dive. Just played the falling down the hill level and it's super fun. It did look like fun. Oh dang, you gotta do Guitar Hero shit. I could never. Warwick Davis is the using of Idiot Abroad. That he gave it an interesting perspective on things. Not a height joke, but kind of is, I guess. Is he very tall? Or very short? I don't think I've seen Idiot Abroad. Ew. I don't know why, but I didn't think he would actually fall into elephant poop.
Not only did that hurt,
Why is it always poop? It's always poop, puke. This looks like fun, but in like small spurts. Although it doesn't look like a big game. I mean, someone did the entire playthrough. It's probably a way better gamer than I am, but in less than 2 hours. Fair.
buddy.
Oh, I guess I already watched this. Oh no, it just takes you to the section.
Elevating this game is right in front of Valve, but they just won't pull the trigger on it.
But you know what they will pull the trigger on? Fantastic segue. Sending out cease and desist. For those who don't know, Classic Offensive was a remake of the OG Counter-Strike within CSGO. Picture the look and feel of 1.6 in the prior betas, but facelifted into the CSGO era. It was really cool, super ambitious, and Valve
So he's a
just
short
put a stop
king.
to it after 8 years of hard work and previously greenlighting it. The same day as the CS2 update, the Classic Offensive Twitter account released a lengthy statement alongside a hashtag #AllowClassicOffensive. In this statement, they say that despite originally being a greenlit project on Steam,
I was very excited for this.
Valve responded in January to the team's most recent build submission, saying that it wasn't a good fit, and then later hit them with a cease and desist ahead of the mod's release. The team also released a full timeline of events from inception to Steam greenlight, communications with Valve, trailer releases, media attention to the mod being completely shut down. This timeline also includes screenshots of correspondence between the team and Valve, with a recent one telling them that they can't release Classic Offensive. Okay, the wording is a little confusing, but Valve explains to the Classic Offensive team
So
that
rude.
Steam TOS does
It's
not
Menzo
allow
Clock.
modders
It's
to release
after
game
Menzo
assets,
Clock.
code, or even derivative works of these assets without a license. A license they will not be providing. Now, their main reason behind...
So essentially, Steam gave them a green light, and Valve kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like gaslighted into them of, you know, just put it together, just see what happens. We could be on board. You never know. And then they put it all together, and Valve said, "Nope, nope, you can't do that. That's very naughty. You cannot do that, children, and it's not okay." It's sad. Hey, bub. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of red tape involved, but like, how much would it really cost them to rent out their maps or something, for example, and just go along with the program for like a 2-year contract, and then if the game needs to be canceled and taken away and turned into abandonware after 2 years or whatever it is because they decide that they didn't like the choice that they made, like, how much would it really cost them? How much would it really hurt anything to just try it? I was excited for this. He played one of the Ewoks in Star Wars. A lot of fans really liked. Aww. The little bubs. Was he in the main movies or in the side ones? What is it? Caravan of Courage and... not Return to Endor. Something Endor. The Battle for Endor.
Behind this decision seems to be because Classic Offensive is a mod of CSGO.
It's more about setting a precedent than
CSGO
costs.
is no
Well,
longer-
fuck them and their precedents.
They told the Classic Offensive
When I'm
team that
president,
they
I'm
will
just gonna
follow
make it
the
about
game as a
cost.
mod for CS2 since the game is still supported.
That's how we're fueling the economy from now on.
SDK and create an entirely new game. Two options that are obviously next to impossible.
That's how we
as they would
save
have
the
to start
world.
from the ground up after 8 years
He was in the
of
main
work.
movies.
But
Aw,
it is.
that's
It's
neat.
the fact that this game is
I didn't
a
have
mod
a
of
favorite
CSGO
Ewok,
that
so I
seems
wouldn't
to
know.
be the problem. Maybe because
I don't know the cast
they
of the
don't
side
want
movies
the
either.
version
They were
of the
just
game
cute.
coming out that isn't theirs. Why this is the specific
Kind of
issue
low
doesn't
budget,
seem to
but
be
still cute.
explained anywhere as of yet.
They're movies
The
that I'd like
reaction
to
this
own.
news seems to be divided into two main camps.
Which,
Counter-Strike
considering
fans
how
who
much,
like the classic
like, retro stuff is going up in price, I should probably look for them sooner than later.
offensive team point out that Steam and Valve are where they are today.
Legally, they would be in trouble with other assets if they allowed it. Well, find a way to not be.
And many more. Legality aside,
Serena
feels
wants.
like hypocrisy, and that Valve is only taking action because they can, because they're technically in the right, and won't be making any money off this if the mod does come out. CS Legacy is another OG CS mod, but the game is being completely remade within the 2013 Source SDK, so they're allowed to keep going, so long as the TOS stays the same. Now, the other camp in this conversation
It's just so
seems to be
convoluted.
confined to the PC Master Race.
Dang
subreddit,
lawyers
who are
indeed.
seemingly defending Valve right now, claiming that the classic
Can't people
offensive
just
team
do what
are
they want?
obfuscating the fact they were using source code workarounds that Valve explicitly told them not to use. Some users also seemed skeptical about the project itself, mentioned public meltdowns from the team over Valve's lack of support, and that Valve wouldn't do something like this.
I would have a public meltdown
yes,
too.
while
I
there
kind of
are
am
two
right
sides
now.
to this,
It's chilly in
with
here.
what we
I
have
may
been
want a
provided by
jacket.
the Classic Offensive
Either
team,
want warmer
Valve never
coffee or a
mentions
jacket.
anything about public meltdowns or the use of workarounds in the email that
Just
told
it
the
looks
team
so
they're
good.
no longer allowed to release this mod. The issue is that since Valve hasn't released their own statement, all we know is what the Classic Offensive...
I feel like they had just dropped a trailer for it prior to them being told big no.
Generations. Much can be learned from past generations.
It just looked so nice and scrunky and wonderful, and I wanted it. I just wanted it. Sag. It would have been so good. But no. Sag. It would have been so good. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. Seem out of the spirit of Valve, considering they didn't even make Counter-Strike in the first place. What was the original studio then? Would the original have been Gearbox? Gearbox was 1999. Valve was 96. The Turtle Rock guys. Turtle Rock Studios. Turtle. Formerly Valve South. I guess they changed their name for a little bit. The O2 babies. Did not know that. That's cool. I like little bitty bits of lore. So Condition Zero would have been made by Turtle Rock. When would it have started with Valve? Which one? Global Offensive. I did not know that. C'est incroyable. The Turtle Rock guys. That sounds like a rough and tough, but also like incredibly wholesome, like little group of gangsters. Them Turtle Rock guys over there. Tencent, what? That's I have stock in Tencent. Tencent Music though. Is that the same thing I have stock in? I think. I don't know why I do. I just thought it was a good idea at the time. I have a couple of silly stocks that I just thought were a good idea. One has done periodically quite well for me. After Backup passed away, I don't know why, but I decided to buy stock in Polaris, which is like a not off-roading, but like all-weather terrain vehicle. And they did pretty okay during the pandemic and post. They've been a little bit down recently, which hasn't been bad, but a couple people in my dad's neighborhood have these instead of golf carts, which is really cool. Shop the lineup. They're just expensive looking golf carts. But they're not meant for like a little retirement neighborhood. They're meant to actually be used. I don't know. I was just like, Polaris, North Star, backup, buy. Would not recommend trading stocks in that manner. Makes you think of Fraggle Rock. I was kind of thinking that too. Look short. How short are you? Short enough to be short, unfortunately, / fortunately. Short enough to need to climb on the counter to get things out of the cabinets. I just got a dividend from them. I don't know how to do anything in here. It's the tiniest little button. Still strong now. 10-cent music entertainment. So is it the same thing? It looks like the same logo. I don't know. I don't know why I thought this one was a good idea either. I don't remember that. No, 10-cent holdings. It's different. I was bemused, however. In the hunting crowd, you'd be pretty swaggy to have a Polaris. I'm sure. My mental picture of the people who own them, like, live in the boonies or, like, Alaska or something. But then, no, my dad's neighbor cruising in one, like, this is my fancy golf cart. The dog on the leash next to it. Which, not judging in, like, a lazy sense, because they're older, so by all means, you know, get the dog for a walk in the most comfy way for both of you, but it's so ridiculous. I guess in comparison to the golf carts that many other people have. Short enough to be a Fraggle? I don't know, you tell me. Welcome, Mad Topher. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Certainly floofy enough to be one. You know what? You're not wrong. I forgot I was sad over that. Now I'm sad over that all over again. Now let's bop into some Stoom. The shirt is not just for show. I want to fail epically tonight. Succeed or die trying. I came across a snippet in my time hop earlier of how I used to have everything set up for games, and I might switch to like a different window, like kind of like I do this with a different gaming setup, because I really liked how that was. I don't remember if I liked how I physically was within it set up, but I liked the way that it was. I think I took a screenshot of it. I was playing Tales from the Borderlands, but I liked that. I guess it's kind of dark. I don't know if I actually want it like that, like with my camera, where am I? Up over here, and then like the full game over there. I feel like that's a nicer way to set it up than how I do it now. I don't know. I will be considering it. I think it's nice to have a scene to switch to for gaming and whatnot. It is. It's just a little bit more intensive on OBS. Because then you have a whole nother source running a whole lot of other things. But this computer is not telling me things. should be able to more than handle it, whereas I scrapped it and it stressed out my laptop. What's the keybind? Usually I have my temperature and CPU and blah 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 blah, everything up on the screen, and it's not right now. When did it go away? I don't remember the keybind for it. I think it's like a Alt Z. Is it? Yes, it's Alt Z. I just realized I couldn't see anything. That was scary. The other layout, though, we'd have the full view of the boys when they wanted to hang out, which would be nice. I would like that. I would like that. Where is anything I'm looking for? There. There. I'm gonna just switch the monitor source. HDMI. And then it should go over perfect. Oh, I think it'll still stay connected. Yes. Okay. That was worrisome. That was worrisome. I like changing things as I go and like upgrading them or even downgrading them to what my preference is at the time or what I feel I would like to change it to at the time. But I do think there's a lot of thought worth being put into of looking back at how things were in the past and revisiting how I can do them better or again or more nicely or more concisely. I think I still have that overlay pack. That was old. It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Serena game streaming. What am I looking for? Twitch category. I want to make some more coffee. No, I don't need to or want to update my app. I need someone to just do all the background things for me. I just want to play Pew Pews. And instead I'm like floating through the brain space of nothingness. Doom, 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 doom. The Doom song. That's the original Doom. This would be the one that we're playing now, I think. I don't know. If I'm wrong, that's not my problem. I'm just a girl. I want to see where we left off and then adjust my coffee making for, oh, we are here. And adjust my coffee making for the gameplay. We're in the Kadinger Sanctum. The Kadinger Sanctum. It's gonna make me laugh forever. Kadinger. I don't know why I needed to say it like that. Kadinger. Kadinger. Like what happened to my car door. My passenger door, apparently. It just got kadingered. Load. Is Voya still in his executive chair? Yes, he sure is. My good little boy. His big old bat ears. I'm sure the PlayStation is going to start throwing a shit fit at some point. Oh, did I stop because I was lost? Or what'd you do, girlfriend? I hear trouble. Said who and what I think it is. Let me see how almost Gunther is dealing with the life sounds. Need a Kadinger remover kit. The Kadinger remover kit. Brought to you by Club Cult for Serena TV. Made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. Doesn't seem very sound sensitive yet. Oh, he pulled his blanket in front of the camera, so that's very unhelpful. I feel bad. He capsized the tent at around 6 a.m. I fell asleep around 5, and then I woke up about 8:30. So we spent about 2 hours with like half of the pop-up tent bent down. I felt really bad about it. Like, I'm sorry, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. It was just like a half hour ago, but pulled the potty pad in front of it. I think he was just getting cozy in the bed, because he really likes that blankie. And he really likes the cave too, but he really likes his blankie. I can't tell if he's freaking out, but I don't hear rustling, so I'm assuming we're safe. What are we walking into out here? A lot of swinging and misses. Not even using the gun that I want to be using right now. No ammo. Boop. 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 Oh, I just walked right into his guts. That was nasty. It was quite nasty. That can't be all that's going on out here. You. Ah, okay, yeah, we need some coffee. We need some big good coffee. Real big bad. Oh, you're still alive. Oh, no, you're not. You're here, though. When in doubt, rock it out. When in need, use the nade. Oh, that one was more witty in my head. Do not expect to survive this. I don't even know where you want me to go. Did I already get lost over here? I just disassociated it, because I feel like that's possible. Is the objective supposed to be behind? What? You get up there? You have to get over here, to there, to theirs. You sound overcomplicated. Ah, I should have focused on your friend first. Whee! Fire bad, Serena. Fire bad, Serena. Boop, boop, boop. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't think I'd make it this far for the moment. Usually you have things for me. Did I already take the things from you? Oh. I died. I'm green. I'm green, but when afraid, use the nades. That's why I should have used it. When afraid, grab the nades. I need more coffee for this. I need hot coffee for this. I shall return. you enjoying watching? You're very silly. Hello, Ty. You're very silly too. Yes, you is. You silly boo. Keep forgetting I have a packet of edible drink mix. I need to figure out where I have like a pitcher or something to make it. Because I feel like it'd be very strong. When afraid, use the nade. When in doubt, nade it out. Still can't go through there. Okay, we're gonna start with one of those. What was my nade button? That's not the nade button. How do I even use the chainsaw? Oh, no. There. I don't think I've used it yet. If there was ever a time, let's try it now. That's a lot of ammo. I'll take it. I'm gonna die though. I'm gonna die the death. I'm gonna die the big death. It was both yes, well executed, and no, not well executed. That served us decently well for a moment. It's not for me. Oh, I thought I would get them both at the same time. I was wrong. Why do you need to be tall? Tall. That's what I got for being a short girl. Ripping and getting ripped. It's like a packet of THC powder. I don't know. I found it the other day when I was looking in my backup drawer where I used to keep stuff, like away from the zoo. And I found it, and it would be a good choice. And edibles are quite wonderful. But I feel like it's gonna be so strong. I don't want to just make it in a cup. I mean, he'll get him with the fireballs, maybe. You don't have any arms, my friend. It's unfortunate. I. It was effective. You're gonna spawn over there, very annoyingly. I'm not gonna shoot anything, because apparently that's the best method of play. I need my corners. Where? Oh, you're behind me in my corner. Okay, now I understand, kind of. That's cool. He took my arm, though. Oh, he took my other arm. He slapped me with my own arm. Slapped me with my own arm. Back in the reserves. But I also did find my RSO. And I have a whole brand new thing of RSO that I had forgotten about. Which is wonderful. But I'm out of my regular edibles. But I don't have to go to the dispensary for flour yet, so I'm figuring out, like, what is in the background. And I had found that. I also found a little bit of hash, too, which I forgot I had. I'm a little hoarder. When I really like something, I save it for forever. And it's, like, a wonderful and terrible trait. Let's just make this mildly easy, if possible. Methodology. Oh, damn it! We were so close. I ran too slow. Rip health. You don't need to be inside of him to get the health, Serena. Jesus. I don't know what fucking gun I want. Fuck it. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. You can all get splooted with that. You can get splooted with that. Everyone can just... It's the night of the sploot. The sploot is just strong in this stream room tonight. Whether it's me or them, we'll never know. But the sploot... No! The sploot is just strong. One more rocket, and then what do I want to use on you? I don't know. We have this, but I feel like I should save it. Nope. Should have yoinked health from you. Oopsies. We get to whatever that is over there. I don't think I can jump that jump. I'm not that jumpy of a jumper. Recover my bearings. Good old shooting sploot. May the sploot be with you, always, and also with you. May the sploot be with us all. Oh, I want the shotgun for you. Damn, no, too much of everything from everyone right now. You with your lasers. I've had it. Thank you. Don't walk in the fire. We're surviving. We're thriving. We're conniving. We got this. Maybe. Didn't we have tomato head guys? Yep. Big yep. Oh. No, we got that far. My head blew off. You lost your head, Serena. Self-sploot. It was almost a mutual sploot. Almost. I was just a hair behind every time he opened his mouth. Just a hair behind. Aw. Aren't you blurby? Blurby, blurby. He'll blast the last guy, or I'll blast the last guy. Someone's getting blasted. Probably me. There's so much guts. Don't need Too much. Are we in Pompeii? Too much. Too much. No! No! I forgot you spawned behind me. God bless America. That's fire. You can only run away so far, Serena. Come on now. Think about what you're doing. Think this through. Think it through. Think it through. You can do it. You can do it. I just blew myself up with a rocket launcher into the rock. This is the only way I'm getting out of this corner, and I'm gonna die anyway. Oh my god. His splooted. His sploots. I have my water in front of my health. I can't see my health. I think I just almost overboarded myself. I'm sitting like an idiot. Posture, Serena. I crawl back to my chair with my coffee like the gremlin that I am, and all thoughts of posture go out the window. I don't know if they got me or if I got them, honestly. Someone got someone. Bloop, bloop. Bloop. Assuming this is even the right way. Tomato Hut, guys. You can do it, Serena. Where do they spawneth from? With no scope with the rocket. Oh, I don't want to jump and hit you. That's not worth the glory kill. There's no glory to that kill. I thought there was two. Where is the other? Lost him. There's some that say water is health. Water is health. I don't think the pools of whatever is contained in here are going to help me. There he is. I found him. I found him. Rapid fire rockets. Okay. We've mildly survived thus far. Water is health. Coffee is life. And with those two things, we're gonna be alright. And a general that way direction, I know. Bouncy, 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 bouncy. I don't think I was already down. Do I need to be down there? Wasn't... The green light beckons from yonder. I don't know if I want to jump down there or jump over to, I guess we'll just jump over there and then look down some more. More green light? Green light. There's health and armor, which is very tempting, but also just take me to my destination. Are you a pony? The door is open. It is open for us. Bloop. That box is not for me. Oh, we can't. It takes us all the way back around. I'm a silly goose. I want the health. Very, very carefully. I want the health. Did I leave those over there? I might have. That's okay. One more time. Parkour, parkour. What is the up option from there? Dink, dink. I feel like I'm gonna need those. Why wouldn't I need that? The cleanup crew needs to get out here. It's a bit murky. But I can climb up to there. Wait, what's this? This is a new space. Oh, no, that's where we came in. It's brand new. No, you were literally just here. Goob. And everybody is where? I know these are skulls, but they look like onion kebabs, and it's making me kind of hungry. Oh, now you're really close. You're really close now, friend. I think the plasma gun is honestly best for him. The outside of the rocket. I don't know who I want to or even need to deal with first. I'm not okay with this. I activated him. I don't know how to make sense of that one. Wait, stop throwing things at me. I'm still deciding what I want to do, okay? Should be making choices. You keep being a rude ass. You keep being a rude ass. You're being a rude ass. And now you're up here. Oh. Oh, shit. See, and that's why we need that. God. Blam it. Okay, we're going down. I don't know where down. But we're down. There's a power up. There's a lot going on here right now. Everyone, guys. Where did we go? Come on. Come back. I have a power up. Come back. Or like, don't kill me, but come back. I do not want the shotgun for you. Is there another? There is another. I don't want the shotgun for you either. I'm out of the. Oh my god, we need shmammo. Like real bad. Big bad. Big bad. Right away! That means I need to chainsaw something. Who? I don't know. We'll find somebody. Just panic and run. That's how you succeed. You panic and run. And stress. That too. I can't chainsaw you. You're too big and rough and tough. You, I can. Ammo. Okay. Why are you not dead? I thought I overboarded myself. Just die. Fire. No, overboard. Stuck. Ah, no, why? My heart can't take much more. Oh, okay. It's, I think, hard to overboard yourself here, which is good. Just jump down. He's walking like a little crab. He's just going. Goldfish memory has its advantages. You get to see new stuff all the time. You're not wrong, but I think also turning myself around, it's just I'm remembering the environment in this way, and then I'm experiencing it this way. And it's quite interesting. Welcome, Globy. The struggle is real, but I enjoy it. Much rude, very ass indeed. Picturing the carb dancing. Needed a mental break from that for a moment. Good lord. Did I leave him alive and just yeeted myself out? That was a choice, Serena. Weapon upgrade point gained. The music has calmed down. I think we're safe now. Woo! We survived that decently well. You look activatable. How do I activate you? What do you mean? Auto map downloaded. Did the other auto maps look like that? That's fire. Don't walk in that. That one was very pretty. It was shiny. Shiny and sparkly. Kind of surprised Kick doesn't have that one default. I wonder if there's, like, if Twitch has copyright on any emote. Like, if they're the only streaming site that can use it, per se. Where it can only be used within that environment. I don't think I can get that box, no matter how many times I try. Health! It was very effective. I don't know how I would get that one. I'm too fancy. I don't know. From over there? It's weird. We have two possible objectives. We can go this way. Or, there's a thing down there. What was that? I don't know. That one doesn't matter. Isn't it in here? The green glowy? It was something to activate. Oh, did it just teleport me? What does that even mean? I like that the fire burns me, but the candles don't. My suit is candle proof. Is it just like a secret room? Where are we? What is this? Is it a challenge? Sure, Twitch has copyright on some, but there are tons of emotes that couldn't possibly have a legal claim to. I would think so. Kindle small fire, not small enough to burn. What is this? Game of Thrones, Fire and Ice. Come on now. I mean, I feel like it would be nice to have that one everywhere, but that's also a common one, so maybe it, or a well-used one. Maybe that would prevent it from being usable elsewhere. Like, there are some emotes that you just see all the time on Kick. And there are some emotes that you see all the time on Twitch because they're, like, the most common reactions. At least that would be my guess of why. And those I would venture to guess there's some kind of copyright claim, too. Or usage permits, although that's probably the same thing. Game of Thrones skins and emotes are in Fortnite now. No shit. So I can be Sansa pew-pewing up the place. "10% think this is a joke, but 90%. I believe it. It's Fortnite. Fortnite does whatever it wants. Fortnite makes no sense to me. You could tell me that Fortnite induced a mod where it will allow you to do backflips flawlessly IRL, and I would believe you. It's Fortnite. They do anything. It's John, Danny, and Night King so far. Aww. It's nice Danny is in there, though. Some micro missiles. A stun bomb. A heat blast. Precision bolt. All of these are L2 toggles. I'm not going to remember to do this. Lock on burst? The question is, will I remember that I have it? I move too fast and too imprecisely. Micro missiles. So essentially I'd be shooting with the the Rocket Man does. It turned into a way bigger stretch than I thought it would. Have the backflip emote. So fancy. So fancy. Man of privilege. Unfollowed. I mean, I can backflip. I just choose to be very careful about when I attempt it. I taught myself how to backflip and back handspring after I had grown out of gymnastics, because you could only do it through the... Oh, there's some down there. Through the park district for like up to a certain age, I think like 12. So I taught myself with all my knowledges, and I actually broke my nose as a kid by kneeing myself in the nose by doing backflips on my bed, because I figured that would be a safe platform. My poor nose has gone through so much in my life. She is a fragile being. We have 6 points. Can't do shit with you. Can't do shit with you. Pistole. I forgot about the pistol. I like the little pistol. Doesn't come in as handy anymore, though. We want the shots to penetrate the targets. I don't know if that's like the greatest thing. Let's reduce the recharge time between. Because that kind of annoys me. That didn't come in handy in our most recent battle. So where are we going now? Find the exit portal marked by the UAC. That'd be that. In general, that away direction. Oh, there's stairs. Oh! I mean, at least I found the stairs. It's on the only flips. So many platforms. Oh my goodness. Doom Guy is so mean to Lilbot. I know, he socked him. Is his name actually Lilbot? He's very cute. He's adorable. He's adorable. The platform was safe. Serena's not. True. We're not wrong about that in the slightest. Choices were made there. I don't know where I got respawned at. I don't think I can boop you again. No. Armor. There was stuff over here though. Isn't there? Or just down? Oh, don't do it again, don't do it again, don't do it again. I don't know what you did, but don't do it again. How stuck am I now? Uh-oh. I am all the way back at the... I'm good at falling. There are a lot more only flip sites than you expected. You actually looked it up. That's brave. You're a brave soul. It's insult to injury. Oh. Now I feel bad. Don't tug on my heartstrings, my emotions like that. I know not what I do. Boop. Oh, we got where we were going before somewhere. Somehow, in some way. Is through here? Oh, look at her backtracking like a pro. That looks fancy. What was that? What was that from? I don't know. It doesn't matter, I guess, but I'm gonna need to know, girly. Okay, there are stairs. There are stairs, Serena. There are stairs that you can keep your 2 paws on. Lord. A brand new place. Shut up. It's confusing. Oh my goodness. It's like there's some Some big trouble over here. Great. We had a boss encounter yet? I don't think so. We're probably due for one soon, which is probably just a huge jinx. Oh my goodness. I love walkthroughs, honestly. I think gaming should be just purely fun and the least difficult as possible. I have no problem looking up what someone else did to get through an area to figure out how I can get through it. I don't want to get annoyed at it. I just want to have fun playing it. What's the point of playing it? To have fun. Unless you're like a 100%er, then the point of playing it is to 100% things, but that's not me. Uh-oh. I don't know what we need to uh-oh, but something is uh-oh. You look a little uh-oh. Oh, they're fighting each other. Okay. You look new. I don't think we've seen him before. He looks too small to be a boss, though. I don't think he would be. No, that was not easy, but too easy. He's cool looking. Oh, he's like Satan on steroids. I love him. Objectively, not actually. Conceptually. You fucking stupid bitch. Oh, how did I do that? I don't know what I did, but that was excellent. Oh, it wasn't her. We need the purple thing. I still don't know what this one does, but I like it. That did decent. What's oh, there's more Satan friend. Hello, Satan friend. How you doing today, Satan friend? You're an interesting friend, Satan friend. I'm missing you entirely, Satan friend. Satan friend slapped me. Who's he? I want to look at him in the codex after we annihilate him. Kind of feel bad that we like rip out his horn and smack him with it. I don't feel like that's very nice. No. I don't know what I think I'm doing here. More Satan friend. Satan friend slapped me again. No, Satan friend, we're too close for comfort. We're too close for comfort. No. It's not doing much damage to him. Oh, yeah, it is, I guess. I don't want that health over here. Okay, more? This is like a mini boss arena. Knee shot. No, you bouncy little... Why is everyone so bouncy in here? Never seen demons so joyfully bouncy. Thank God. Goodness golly gosh. Okay, now we have calm survival. Let us rest our woes in this pool of blood. Oh, that's why I was able to get that flying bitch so easy then. Not like easy, but less difficult than usual. Because purple is quadruple damage. That's what you liked about Doom Eternal is they would introduce new enemies as bosses, but later you'd be fighting tons of them. Did I get to that point yet? Probably not. I do feel like this is excellent practice for Eternal, though. That brings me joy inside. I feel like this is preparing me. to be able to enjoy Eternal for the full scope of what it is versus just disassociate and shoot everything in sight. I did not run all the way back up there to punch the little bot again. It was just out of habit. It was a bad habit. I need to go to anger management therapy and work on that. After they took your arms off and specked you with them. I know! It was rude. It's not nice. It's not nice. The thought that demons are fully ruled by their id, which would be basically a hedonistic approach. I mean, made by id, ruled by id. Not all demons are happy bouncy. They're like Voya. Voya kind of has bitch face, but he's happy inside. So all the demons just look rough and tough and mean, but like they're coming out just for a joyous little picnic time together, and here I am just ruining their day. Absolutely just crapping on all of it with my existence. Stuff and things. Stuff and things. Oh, this looks like the gorge where Simba falls down in The Lion King. Sploot. It was fun. I do like that compared to Doom 3, you can get the Scully head guys in one shotgun shot. You would have to be so perfect and precise and at an exact distance to be able to, oh god, do that in 3. So I do like that. I do appreciate that. I don't want to bounce on the bouncies while you're doing all the naughties. Fuck. I'm not a strong jumper. Oh my god. I thought I overjumped it. Yes, annihilate hims. You no, naughty, very naughty, very naughty of you. Do not jump on my platform. Don't you know I'm very good at falling? Please. Goodness cheese Louise. Did I just go backwards? Oh my god. I mean, that wasn't what I meant to do. That was what I was trying to do, but I don't think I have enough rockets for that. I'm dead. Doom guy, brother. It's basically ants at a picnic. Well, it's not my fault. Talk to him about it. It's not my fault. Although maybe it is my fault. I am kind of an interrupter myself. What did I just mod then? Hold L2. Don't just press L2. The Baron of Hell. 1? Is there a 2? It's the highest demon among the Order of the Hell Knights. They rarely leave Hell, and no Baron of Hell has yet been captured by any of the tethering operations. Details regarding their behavior and physiology are therefore limited. Oh, it was cooler last time. Bummer. Oops. Bloop, bloop, bloop. We actually have full health. Whoa. Whoa. I feel like in terms of perspective, and maybe it's just that it's, I don't know, less puzzly, more open. Arenas seem to be larger and less congested. But it visually does look better to me than Eternal as well. But I don't know if that's graphics wise or just how the comfort I feel in it. Alright, guys. What are we doing here? Well, I kind of thought he was gonna fall for some reason, even though I know he flies. That was cute. Bloop. Bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. How doth one? Oh, that is how doth one. Oh, I forgot you exist. I still threw a grenade instead. I should have gone back to grab more health. I'm in trouble. I'm Serena, who's in trouble. Okay. Survival. More gritty and less arcadey, I think. I can see that. It feels like the perfect baby mix between Eternal and 3. It's quite delightful. This may be becoming a close favorite to 3. It's just new and different enough to be new and different. How sophisticated of wording there. But it has almost everything about 3 that I loved. And just enough different from 3 that I super enjoy it. Please let me land. Okay. I don't know if we need that. Oh, really? I thought it was an attached, like, outcrop peninsula. It was not. There was a space in between the spot and the forward. No, I don't want to do all of this again. Please. Please. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. So close. And then I made friends with the ground. Stick with your strengths. I'm quite good at making friends with the ground. I think I actually did miss him that time. Awkward. Bloop, bloop. Let them duke it out a little bit. They don't need to know that I'm here yet. I feel like I should have been able to ledge grab that too. I feel like they shouldn't have done me dirty and should have fucking not goddamn made a space in between the what looked like a whole spot. Like, that's a scam. You can't see it. Just learn from it. Learning is for life, not games. Games are meant to be using your imagination. Maybe, I don't know. I got ammo? Yes! Okay, because I need that. I need that real bad. Ah, shit. Not in the best of health standing. Oh no, we did re-up on health. Okay. It looked similar how this one did here. It made me have hope. I had hope. From afar, they flowed so slowly, but then they seem so fast when they get so close. It's uncomfortable. Bloop. Bloop. Oh, I guess it is kind of, if you look at it from the side, you can tell that it's not attached. But who looks that closely? Not I, said the fox. Please let it have checkpointed somewhere, maybe. No rocket launcher for you, Serena. None. None. I don't know if that dude behind me is alive or not. I don't know if he got caught in the crossfire. No, he's still going. I admire the tenacity. Apada! It does irk me a little bit that they stopped calling them PDAs and made them codex entries, but how they modified it for Eternal even more so, it makes sense that it's a codex entry, but it looks like a PDA, it smells like a PDA, it walks like a PDA, it talks like a PDA, it's a PDA. PDA, baby. I'm getting way too worked up about that. Farm some ammo out of you. Do you get ammo with the chainsaw every single time, or is it like a grab bag? If it's ammo every time, I need to use that more. Here's a button. You press the button. Press the button. Peanut butter and jelly. I have forgotten to get peanut butter this entire year at the grocery store. I ate the last of my peanut butter around my birthday, so in like November. And I'm not really a peanut butter girly, so I was fine with it without it in December. But then in January I wanted a PB&J. And I realized I didn't have any peanut butter. And I keep forgetting every single time I get groceries. But I don't think I want to buy peanut butter at Sam's because then the jar will be as big as like half of me. PDA's walked, so fancy tech. You know what? PDA is BMO. How about that? I came across a black cat on Reddit the other day that someone had posted about, and the cat's name was BMO, and it was the cutest thing in the whole world. It looked just like Void. It's so cute. So cute. BMO. Aww. Aww. I go through phases with peanut butter. Like, all of a week, I'll have a period of time where, like, I need to eat it out of the jar with a spoon. And then I'll go months without eating it again. I have no sense with peanut butter. Peanut butter with bananas on toast is so fucking good, though. That's one of the few ways that I like eating bananas, when I get burnt out on bananas, but then I've still bought more than what I'm realistically gonna eat. And I have bananas right now that I don't really want to eat because I thought I wanted bananas, but turns out I just wanted one banana. And that's why I keep thinking about the peanut butter. I don't know why I thought that was a ledge that I can grab. Yes, it is. What did I open with the thing? Something this way? Well, there's certainly some things this way. Peanut butter was a good core protein for a while, but I don't know. I got burnt out on peanut butter for some reason. I used to eat it a lot. I would have a PB&J at least a couple times a week. Then I just stopped eating a lot of peanut butter at some point. I don't know why. Literally, I don't know why at all. Oh, because it's dense in fat. And I tried removing, like, whatever I eat that has a decent amount or a lot of fat in my diet, like, to see if it made a difference, like, with how I feel. I think that's why I stopped eating peanut butter as much. Because there's fat in it. Because it's nuts. Even though it's good protein. But sometimes your body doesn't react well to fats, and I was curious. I don't remember if it's low or high fiber, though. Do nuts have fiber? I don't feel like they do. Beans, yes. I don't think nuts do. It has, like, the most minuscule amount of fiber. What's the difference between the fat in peanut butter versus, like, a half an avocado? 16 grams and 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Versus... Oh, it's about the same as an avocado, or half an avocado. The average avocado would have 29 to 30 grams of fat, and half of one would be about 15 then. The first time I ever had tofu, No, let me rephrase that. When I had first gone vegan, I conned. I would have to save my allowance if I wanted like Morning Star or, well, back then it was like just Boca Burgers, but whatever fancy little vegan thing other than just like vegetables, rice, noodles, etc. Like it was going to be fancy and specifically vegan that I needed to save my allowance for that. But I conned my dad. I begged. Please just buy tofu. Buy tofu. I want to try tofu. And my dad's like, you're not going to like it. He's like, try tofu. Just please buy me tofu. Please. So he finally buys me tofu. I don't cook it at all. First mistake. Did not know what I was doing. To be fair, I was like, what? 2010. I was like 12, 13, something like that. I don't know. So I made it raw with peanut butter and jelly slathered on top of it. And my dad watched me eat my whole serving of it as I'm like... It was not good at all. But everywhere that I had read, like, about trying tofu is that, you know, like, you make it with peanut butter and jelly, assumingly, like, fried, so that it's a crispy, almost like a thicker version of, like, a moist chip, kind of. And then it probably would be good to be dipped in peanut butter and jelly. But I knew I would never have tofu or anything of the sort bought for me ever again if I made a face about it. And I ate all of it. I ended up making, it into like fake scrambled eggs, which turned out just fine after that, but I can eat raw tofu and not make a face now just fine. I had raw tofu with dinner last night, and I just don't care if it's not cooked anymore because I don't mind the flavor anymore. I'm used to it, but I made a big mistake when I first tried tofu trying to have it that way. It was so fucking gross. Highly do not recommend. Just like... My dad's just looking at me from the kitchen island, like, hand on hip, like, that's good? Yeah? Yeah? It's different than I thought it would be, but it's good. Avocado toast is supreme, but it has to be on... Well, it doesn't have to, but the best way is on sourdough bread. I make my avocado toast on my rice cakes. I like them that way. But supreme avocado toast is on sourdough bread. Excuse me. Not wrong. Young birds just need to learn to fly and how to cook their tofu. The Serena birds and the real birds. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Is there a way that I switch the mods from here? I like the way that's scoped differently before, but... No. Oh, that's a grenade. I mean, that was fine too, but not what I intended to do. Are you a guy with a thing? Give me the thing. The guy with the thing. A praetor token. We're all coming from that way, so I'm guessing we're going that way. Going on adventure, wonder what's in store. We're opening up the closet and heading out the door. I keep thinking these are... Whoa, that's the overboard. Active. They are? Oh no, I just walked into it. I keep thinking those are active. Excuse me. Activatable things. They're not. Sourdough is the best. It is the supreme bread. I am proud to say I still have 2 slices of the sourdough bread I bought like a month plus ago. I did not just immediately consume all of the bread. But I knew doing so would hurt me, and I had self-control this time. And I also kind of hid it back in the fridge, so I'd only see it every couple days. So not bad. There's still 2 slices left. Which way do we jump? Which way do we jump? This looks like the better path. Boop. We're in the Shadowlands from the Lion King. Nope. I got distracted by him. I saw you. This was all very dramatic. You stinky little runner butt. Oh, you're a big stinky runner butt. Oh, mother. Tried so hard to time that out so nicely. Just no. No, come on. You don't want to waste this gun, you stupid bitch. You don't want to waste it. Little buddy system bitches. Give me purple. Purple is good. I think we need purple. Where did they go? I feel like they're gonna be behind me. I'm just running. I'll just be running. Where did they go? Where did the Treble Twins go? Oh, for Christ's sakes. Did they die? I don't think I killed them. I lost the whole power-up. Oh, Serena. Nope, there you are. You're just a perfect little hiding douchebag. Got choice words for you. Oh, not the target that I intended, but still very helpful. Where did you even go? Loesch memo. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Wrong way. Wrong way. Wrong way. Wrong way. All the ways are the wrong ways. All of the wrong ways. All of them. Every single one. Sir, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die the death. I'm gonna do the dead. You. What do you need to do over here now? No, I'm gonna chase you now. I'm sick of this shit. I'm done with this. Give me some bullets at least. Listen, thank you. I'm committed to survival. Whether that is actually possible or not, I'm committed to the concept of it. Where did everyone go? I'm scared. I have concerns. I have extremely valid concerns. Boop. 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 Ah, fuck. Fuckity, fuckity, fuck. I am in so much trouble. I blew myself up. It wasn't smart stuff. And now I'm dead. They did hide for the whole thing. I mean, I was kind of like running and searching at the same time, so I probably didn't make it easier. I should have just been like a kid and like stayed where I was because I was lost. But self-sploot is a classic signature move. I think I remember it happening in Eternal, but I don't remember it happening in 3. To where, like, yes, definitely if I threw like a nade right now, it would bounce off the wall and come back at me. But I don't think with the rocket launcher it used to come back at me. I think it would just fire through the wall. I'm a little disappointed by that, but that's a me issue. That's not a them issue. It's not their fault. I'm dumb. Where is everyone? There was people here before. I am concerned. Did it autosave? Why did it spawn me in there then instead of in here? Did I need to go in there? Yes, I was going backwards. I'm a professional backwards goer. Okay. Back to the end of the world. Spooky. Let's try and annihilate this room so I can write how proud of myself I am in my journal tonight. And get some eeps. Still trying to figure out the best new schedule with almost Gunther here. So thank you guys for being patient with me in every new timeline of life. Want to be sure that I have that I'm not doing that IRL. That essentially, but in more words. I went overboard. Sailor Serena went overboard. Nemo swimming out to sea. Welcome, Midnight Dynamite. It's not a new signature move. It's more like the classic Serena signature move, unfortunately. I'm just a little bit better than I used to be, believe it or not. To where it doesn't happen as frequently as it used to. I used to be afraid to even throw grenades. Now I sploot myself at them. I used to be constantly terrified of falling overboard. Now it doesn't happen every 2 seconds, which is nice. Bloop. Ba-doop. Skadoop. I'll shoot you in the butt. Where'd you go? I'll shoot you in the butt. Get you out of here right away. That would be so nice. No ma. No mas. No! Not going overboard for you. He's not worth it. He's not worth it. My not friends. Christ. I'm not accomplishing much here. Okay. One down. One to go. Overboard, but not the worst overboard that ever could be. It could be worse. There's something big behind me. The Rocket Mans. No. They just reminded me of like two strippers doing a trick at the same time on the pole. They were hovering over each other and it was almost like ballet-esque. It was beautiful. I want the purple. I want the purple. Give me the purple. I think we need the purple now. I think we need it. I think we very much need it. Yes. Where's your friend? There's more rocket guys too. Where'd they go? Oh my god. Why is there two of you? Why is my stiff gonna wear off right now? I'm gonna die. I need something. Chainsaw. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. There's no health. I need something to punch. Not to, nope, 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 no. Oh. You gonna take my legs? Lieutenant Dan! He took my legs. Oh, I'm very skilled. We're going old school tonight. Oh, thank you, Cygenix. That's a high compliment. I can kind of aim now. I used to just really, really try and not succeed. I can kind of aim now. Practice makes perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna put that in my journal tonight. Want some ice cream? Where's Smoops? Needs to bring me the banana ice cream. Ain't got no legs. Just gotta get you some magic legs. Oh my god. I need a lot more than magic legs to get through here. That wasn't so easy to go forward there if I kept going backwards before. Serena. We can do it. We can do it. Badoo. Badoo. Just stay strong. Focus. With great power comes great responsibility. Great demon fighting. So do it. Get her done. Don't let him get close. Don't fall overboard. Just run, bitch, run. Run, bitch, run! Ah. You don't need to get so close. You don't need to walk through the lasers. Oh my god, Serena. Figure out what you're doing. There's our rocket friends. Oh my god, get me out of here. Where's the purple? There's the purple ball. There's the purple ball. Need the purple ball. Boy, get it for me. I need it. I think that was... Wait, oh no, that's Gunther. Gunther, get it for me. You can do it. I kind of splooted myself there, but that's okay. And you know what? And you can have a rocket. And you can have a rocket. And you can have a rocket. And rockets for everyone. I'm the fucking Oprah of rockets. Oh, now my power-up wore off. I need to retain my sense of humility. Fuck. Whoa, fuck. I'm dead. So, a Baron of Hell and, what's the other guy called? Meet you at a staircase. I'm gonna start telling Doom jokes. I have a Doom stand-up comedy hour. Forrest Gump quotes just make you want to quote Tropic Thunder. I never saw Tropic Thunder. I remember when it came out. I think the only reason I didn't see it is because it was like parody-esque and I was deep in my like real war films era at that time. I was having like my 50-year-old like midlife male crisis where you get obsessed with like war times. Specifically like civil in Vietnam. A lot of Ken Burns there. That's not what I wanted. Where's the guys? This is like really one of my fatal flaws. I just focus on one thing. I need to be better than that. Boys. Where's the boys? They're gonna... Okay, I cannot use this power up on them because that's a fucking waste. That's a waste in 68ths and a 3/4. I quit. But this is not aim at all. Nope. Found you. Fucking trouble twins. Don't like them. They're not my friend. Whoa. Found you. Peekaboo. I found you. Oh. Okay. You can have one too, just for fun. We're sharing tonight. Sharing is caring. No overboard. I'm really good at falling down. It's not ideal. This is my rocket friends. And no power up, because I fucking wasted it on nothing and no one. Why didn't I use it on anyone for any reason? Because I don't know. I just didn't. I don't know why I do the things I do, the way that I do them for any reason. Okay, if I actually hit you with it, how good is this for you? Eh. Eh. What's behind me that's gonna ruin my life? Satan? The Baron? The Baron? I thought you splooted. You did not sploot. Dude, I'm gonna die. I am so fucked. So fucked. Very big trouble. It's very big. Get over you! Gah! Get out of my way. Don't go there. That's my square. Ah. We're surviving. And I'm trying to keep it that way. Satan, I really wish you'd leave me alone. You bouncy booger. Bouncy booger. Well, that's not gonna do shit for you. I don't think that has any more to it. Fuck it. Oh. I tried to lock on with the multi-shot, but I did it when he was this close to me. So close. Tropic Thunder wasn't necessarily a parody movie, but it was humorous. And apparently I just wasn't in the mood to laugh at that point of time in life. Knock out. It's the Serena remix of Happy Tree Friends. Where only the violence only comes to me. I'm making it through this room. I'm doing it. I'm sitting proper in my posture, and we can do it. It can be done. Yeah, for exactly that reason it can be done. We got that far without the power up, basically. Did good. Demons deserve second chances too. What about me? This is like my 5th chance. Am I even redeemable at this point? Highly doubt it. I did not even hit him. Oh my god. It's so abrasive. I did not even know where you were going to jump to. My dear. You are not a good deer. You make me say, "Doe!" like Homer Simpson. It's quite enough. Ammo. Where's my rocket mans? There's my rocket mans. Oh my god, finally. Okay, now what? There's 2 of the big dudes, and then 2 of the demon guys, and then 2 of these guys. The other one I think was floating down here. No, you're down there right now, and you're up here right now. Which, that's lovely for you. Maybe the power-up should be saved for the Baron. The fancy man. Put on some royal purple for the Baron. I'm being an idiot. I don't care. Stuffing things. Stuffing things. Oh, you're just right there. Please tell me I can jump over this. Okay. Thank goodness. I'm in a corner, and that's not a good corner to be in. I like my corners, but not that one. Knee shot. I'm not recovering health-wise here. Unless I can glory kill one. Do not get stuck, you silly cunt. Da! Oh, okay. There's one down. Kind of. It's okay. Maybe. Not really. Too close for comfort. Please die. Please fucking die. Okay. He has been defeat. What else more is there? I can't take any more. Oh my god, we did it. We did it! We completed the challenge, whatever it was. Boy, yeah, mommy did it. Or Gunther, mommy did it. I did it. I did it. The PlayStation is freaking out, but you come over to congratulate me. He said, oh, Mom, you can do anything. Get some good sleep tonight, the Mad Topher. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I hope the weekend was kind to you. And thank you so much for being here and chilling. Get some good sleeps. Mr. Actual Gunther. The OG AG. Actual Gunther. I think one of the boys did end up scratching his little face. I wonder if swelling under that is making it harder for him to breathe, like his little nosy. We did it! Oh, you want to do lap time? Well, lap time. Let me just make sure we're at a save point. Gunther, you get all the kisses. Mwah, 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 mwah. I smooch you. I love you. You're so cute. And bopped in the pug nose would make it hard to breathe. I would think so. I mean, like, anything around your nose. It's painful. Like, your sinuses swell. You can, like, feel it all the way through your nose. Obviously, they're connected, but especially when they're, like, swollen to the touch out here. So I do wonder if that's causing it, too. But he's breathing weird. He's not acting strange any other way, so I'm not super concerned. But Gunther is also... How old? He was 11 in 2023, and he was 14. So he's getting older. He doesn't look very old by any means. Like, his body condition versus what Munster's body condition is very, very different. So I don't think he's, like, you know, fallen apart. But heart issues are common in cats, and they often go unseen until a problem arises, like strange breathing. My buddy's cat is now on steroids for an enlarged heart that they discovered after the cat got pneumonia, which it just got aggravated from the pneumonia, and because he's an older cat, now it's more exasperated, if that makes sense. Hi, buddy. Chronic kidney condition in cats 8 and up is pretty common. But I don't think that's something that we have to worry about. I really don't know what's going on. His respiration is, I wouldn't say distressed in general, but it's more distressed than it usually is. So if it doesn't improve by Monday night, I'll bop him into the vet on Tuesday, because Voya has an appointment anyway. So he can just come along for the ride. He does not look 14 at all. He looks young. He looks like no older than 5. Him and Voya look the same age. And Voya's approximately 7. 2025. He was at least a year old. So at the youngest, Voya would be 7. I feel like Zeke looks older than Gunther, though, and Zeke is supposedly 5, so... I don't think there's any floaters still, otherwise the crazy music would be playing. I don't think I used the shotgun at all except for accidentally through here. That's weird. Gunther does look very young, though. I love that for him. I actually don't want to believe that he's actually 14. But he was microchipped when he was brought to animal control, so there's record of his age indisputably. They did call his people, and his people said, nah, he's sick. Just put him to sleep. We don't want him, which I have choice words and feelings for that, but they thankfully didn't and gave him a chance, and Mr. Gunther, who wasn't even up for adoption, got adopted. I still think that's so amazing, and I really appreciate that, like, CACC put their trust in me as a repeat offender adopter. I was sad when I went. Every time that I've gone, you usually have to, they changed the lobby layout, which I didn't realize when I was there for the seminar I went to, but I wasn't really paying attention to it because I was too focused on, like, where's the seminar going to be. There used to be security that you would check in with first and give your ID to, and they'd give you a badge, and then you'd go around to the desk. And they took the security person out. Like, there's just someone standing. They're not, like, behind with a little paper and all of the things anymore. You just go right to the main counter for it. But I was sad. I liked the security lady. She remembered me when I had adopted backup from when I came for Chauncey and for Gunther too, which was really sweet. I liked her. She was nice. And she's not there anymore. Yeah, I mean, certainly the animal didn't get the good end of the stick for it, but it does mean that they're with us now and they have the best life ever, and the end does not justify the means, but I'm grateful for the end of the means. I think that's why I have such a soft spot for Almost Gunther. Because it's like, you know, I don't want you to have to, like, wait until your Tank's age, or even Gunther's age, to, like, realize that humans in indoor are good and the best. I don't. It pulls on my heartstrings extra. I'm not just biased because it's a cat. I'm biased specifically because he makes me think of Gunther and of Tank in that way. I think we made it through the level. Unless that's going to take us to a boss, but I'm not fighting a boss tonight. I'm going to bed. Okay, activate the portal. Take me through the porthole. Is it going to look like a butthole like in 3? No. We did not go through the colon of doom. It could also be PG for plausible Gunther. I like that. I asked the neighbor that also fed him what she called him, and she called him Sylvester, which I don't think he looks like a Sylvester, even though he does. But I don't know what his nomenclature should be. Feels a little silly to keep calling him Almost Gunther, though. Because when I'm in here before I go to bed, I'm like, I love you, Ziki. I love you, Voya. I love you, Gunther. I love you, Almost Gunther. It's just strange. I mean, no one else is hearing me. Yeah, I already have a Sylvester in my life anyway. Like, my dad has a Sylvester. So, I don't know. If you guys think of any good names for him. What's the guy's name from Diner's... Guy Fieri? Is that what we should call him because of the beard? But he has like a little douchebag, like, triangle, doesn't he? Whereas Almost Gunther is like a full beard. Needs like a Viking name. I feel like everyone's known a black and white cat named Sylvester. It's just too common of a name. Does actual Sylvester have a beard, though? I don't remember. He does not. Yeah, the soul patch. I shouldn't call it the douchebag beard. That's not nice. Just immediately what I think of when I see it. You have one? I mean, I think it's the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen, and I think everyone in the world should have one. He was a tuxedo cat. But I didn't know if he had the little beard marking. I couldn't remember from the cartoon. From the cartoon. He does not have a beard. Almost Gunther has a beard, though. Continue. I missed a Praetor token. What challenge did I complete? 10 demons while using power-ups? I feel like that's not hard to do. I'll take it, though. Rest assured, douchebags will follow it. If you build it, or grow it, or wear it, the douchebags will come. Googled famous beards for ideas. Hardly my strangest search. No, the strangest search tonight, in my opinion, was the only flips. Anyone find any dolphin pages? I love the idea of a wallet chain, and granted, I don't wear pants much anymore, but when I used to wear pants, when I was a normal member of society to whatever extent, I always wanted to use one, but I didn't like how it clanged against my leg while I walked. Like, I found it disturbing. The slight amount of physical touch that it did. It was disturbing. Oh, I did see that Chuck Norris passed away. That's so sad.
The Argent Tower is destroyed. The portal can no longer be
That's
closed
very sad.
this side. The hell energy flows from a location in their world we call
He did have an epic beard, though. His Walker Texas Ranger days, it was like a thick goatee, right?
only flesh and blood to walk between dimensions.
I never actually purposefully watched Walker Texas Ranger, but it was on after the afternoon cartoons on Channel 11. So, like, Arthur would be done with, and then Walker Texas Ranger would be on. So I saw it way more than I intended. He kind of does have that face, honestly. I can see it a little bit. I didn't listen to anything. I hope he tells me when I come back, because it's bedtime. It was on reruns constantly. You didn't change the channel. Well, it was a very popular show, so it makes sense they would have played a lot, but... My goodness golly. Let me switch the input for this. I could do some AG and Walker reruns. Oops, I put it on the wrong input. Oh no. How do I fix you? I can fix it. No, you stupid fucker. There you go. Okay. Pardon. My throat is not a happy person. They kind of have similar faces, like no shade on either of them. But who was Walker Texas Ranger or Chuck Norris or both? He took very good care of himself. He was a karate dude, right? I don't really know much about Chuck Norris except for like all of the memes and jokes that everyone makes. Or is he bobbing his head around? I feel like they've kind of got the same look. Like, does anyone else see it? Yes, no, maybe so. Walker would be cute. Walker might be a cute name for him. It's like, I'm not just crazy. I mean, I am, but real recognizes real. He got a black belt in 5 or 6 martial arts. Damn, that's incredible. Walker is kind of fitting for a street cat. I like it. I want to try it out for him. But then I'm probably going to end up calling him like Walkie for short, and that's weird. Walkie-talkie. Almost Gunther. Do you copy? Over. Walkie beans. Walkie beans. Waka 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 waka. I kind of like that for him. I mean, it's not too serious of a name. But it could work out for him. It could. I can't give him too special of a name because then I'll want to keep him, and I can't do that. I say I can't do that, but we all know if he's nice, he will always have a home here. But like, I think Walker would be cute for him. Walker. I'm gonna try it out tonight. See how he likes it. Today I implemented the void plate, or not void plate, GG plate of temptations. And he got curious about it, poked his head out with me, but then didn't want it until I was out of there for like a half an hour. But he's still making strides so much faster than Gigi. I really feel like within a week we'll be able to assess progress. If I was more awake today, I didn't sleep as much as I wanted to. Thank you for your company tonight, Globy. Maybe you have a good rest of your night. Get some good eats, get some good eats. If I was a little bit more awake today, I would have tried to actually give him the tube and see how swatty he would have been about it, but I wanted to make sure that I am on a fully awake brain for those interactions. Being curious about it is very good. I'm very proud of him. He spent a lot of time today laying outside of the cube, or not the cube, the acorn, and that was good. I feel like right now he's probably just catching up on all of the sleep that he missed outside. And I think within the next couple of days I want to go a little bit harder socializing with. But he'll have time to relax while I'm doing convention stuff too, so it'll be good and okay. Nice to stay out of range of the tac too. Yeah, I don't move as fast when I'm tired. And I'll scream louder when I'm tired. If I'm fully awake, I can regulate it in the moment, and I'm just like, instead of, ah! Not screaming at him, but like the normal human reaction to getting pulverized. I don't think he'll be tac mean, though. I think it'll just be scared. I'm more afraid of Gigi than I am of him. And Gigi's been here 2 months. I'm not afraid of her, but like I know she'll hurt me. Him, I don't know if he'll hurt me yet. But we're getting close. Gigi was out and gave herself a bath in front of me earlier. We had so much good progress today. I'm very proud of my little street friends. I don't know. I know that there's so many animals in the world that need help and need homes and need care and attention. And I think ultimately I need to stop forcing myself to do everything. And of course go outside of my comfort zone when necessary, but kind of stick to my strengths. It's a little bit egotistical. I fully acknowledge that in the beginning of all of this, and full circle to now, I suppose, I would like my Stream the Dreams project focus to be on rehabilitation. I really like that for whatever reason I have this crazy worm in my head that says I can fix him. I can rehabilitate every street cat out there, which is not necessarily true, but I like that. That feels good for me. I like seeing cats go from, animals in general, going from point A to point B of the world is scary to I live the lap of luxury. And by all means, I still want to stay involved in TNR. I want to figure out how I can make sure I have a safe setup space for the night before and recovery so I can make another appointment for RNG or Bear/Jimbo or Naked Butt, although I haven't seen Naked Butt since, I think Naked Butt might have been a girl. Because they were kind of following Almost Gunther around, and now Almost Gunther isn't here, and I haven't seen them since. I'm trying to get them all fixed. TNR'd. I know Bear has caretakers, and he spends a lot more time over there than with me, so I think that will be okay. He would be okay to let back out because he has his people and his girlfriend over there. Oh yeah, Bear's girlfriend too. I'm gonna make sure she's TNR'd before I moved out of here. But in general, I think not my side quests. My side quests of TNR and fostering and rescue, etc. I think I want to focus on rehabilitation more than anything. I want to learn more, very much so, but I think I have a pretty good handle on a lot of animal behavioralism and like psychology per se, and I'd like to expand upon that and keep it going. I don't know. That was kind of my original focus and thought and what I know is my wheelhouse, and then it's like, wait, you can do anything and everything as a rescue. What's the best for the world? And when I think about what's best for the world, I get overwhelmed and I don't know what direction to go in. If I look inside of myself, it's simply give them love and let them be loving again. So I don't know. I don't think that's the easiest versus the hard part thing. I think you just burn out less and you can do more when you do what feeds your soul versus forcing yourself to feel like you're the person in charge of the world. You burn out faster, and I never want to burn out. I've burnt out many times, and I recognize when I get close to there, and I don't want to get there again. I think it's good for you and good for them. Just to say one is better than the other. That is very true. It's definitely good for me. I'd like to think it's good for them. Tank spooned me for... How long did I sleep earlier? I took a 3-hour and 38-minute nap, and Tank spoon. He was the baby spoon for the whole thing. We both fell asleep and woke up in the same position. That was lovely. That was absolutely wonderful. So maybe it is good for them too. Certainly better than being out on the street if that can be avoided. But there's just so many aspects to rescue. You can't realistically do them all, and having a focus is good. But I also acknowledge that we have overpopulation crises and many other bigger issues in the world, and it's not that I don't want to take them on. I just don't think I'm the best person to take on what feels like all of it. But I certainly want to still be involved in it and advocate to the community for support for it. So, take the bits of wisdom from the Cat Mom Council that you like, and also do your own thing. Yeah, I mean it's all grassroots efforts anyway. Actually, I wonder if there's any new animal psychology courses that I haven't taken yet. I haven't taken classes consistently in a handful of years. Now I'm curious. I'm very curious. Tanker should be Big Spoon every now and then. He's not, though. He's just a little baby spoon. He either spoons or he wants to lay by my feet. Which I think that either means that when he spoons with me, I think that means he feels secure with me. When he lays by my feet, I think that for cats means that they think they're your child. So Big Daddy Tank taking over. I liked Coursera. Does Coursera still exist? Yes. I wonder if all the same classes that I would have taken before, though. Excuse me. Why are you blurred out, you weirdo? There's definitely bits and pieces of knowledge and truth that I can gather from every resource that I have animal welfare wise. I don't think it's as black and white as people in their different sectors make it seem. But I also understand having like one main focus of what your skill set is too, and I respect that. I don't think anyone else is doing it wrong, and I don't think necessarily I'm doing it right. We're all just doing our best. It's animal behavior and welfare. That one looks a little bit newer. Why is it blurred out though? That's weird. Is it full? This one I took. That was cool. That was the one that I learned the Dognition place from. Aww. The Truth About Cats and Dogs. I think that one is new. Animals in Society. That one I don't remember. Animal Welfare in the Clinic. I want to take all of these. I don't care about the rest of them. The top animal behavior courses that they have right now. That one I already took. I already have my notes on that if I want to brush up on it. I like Coursera because you can audit all of the courses for free, but then you just have to pay for your certificate. If you actually want the certificate for it. Most of them. Some of them you do have to pay for right off the bat, but very far and few between. A 7-module course. That's not bad. Chicken behavior and welfare. Horses. Oh, what's this? Show me more. Show me the more. Cat will tell you if you're doing something wrong by hitting you and then biting you. Your cat and my tank should be best friends. It is such a nice way of doing it. I think there's a lot of other sites that exist that do roughly similar, but I like it very much. I don't even know where all of my school books are. I think they're actually downstairs. I have like 3 big binders. Because I was taking classes like crazy when I was taking care of my niece and nephew. From like business classes to animal welfare classes to like psychology and child development. Because I really didn't know if I wanted to be like a teacher, a dog groomer, or just some kind of business owner. And now I am a streamer and I do all of them. Mine is like the child care part, although I do babysit chat sometimes, so that's okay. Like when PB is streaming. Aw, that means you're the best human if you're the human incarnation of Tank. Account for the shifting roles and statuses of animals in society and their social, cultural, and ethical consequences. Key perspectives and concepts in the field of human and animal studies to explain the status of animals in contemporary society, demonstrate an understanding of the importance of considering animals in analysis of social issues. I think this one looks like a good one. Analyze the socially constructed boundaries drawn between humans and animals and review their consequences. What are the details? Specialization 3-course series. So it doesn't have modules, it just has the 3 different course portions. 5 hours. It's 15 hours. It's not bad at all. Why do you not open the details? I don't know. It's none of my business. I'm tired. What is your cat revealing to you when she purrs? What is your dog expressing when he yawns or wags his tail? Understanding your cat and dog's behavior and the way that you communicate. Will. And there's words missing. I feel like this one would be kind of like rather childish, but still a nice course to take. You never know. Like there could be one sentence of information that you would have never considered or never heard before if not going through it. Describe components of the core self found in dogs and cats. Their ids. Summarize how research on emotions and animal challenges. Anthropocentrism. That one. Distinguish between animal welfare and animal rights positions. That would be interesting. Evaluate studies on the influence of animals in human health and well-being. I have a funny story for you guys. My GI therapist wants to certify Voya as an ESA. I didn't ask for this. She offered it. So that doesn't mean that I would take Voya places with me, and ESAs aren't meant to just go places with you. It's like it's to have at home use. But she wants to certify Voya as my ESA. Which would be excellent and hilarious and wonderful. But this is the coolest thing that happened ever. I had my session last Wednesday, I think it was. And I had laid down because we were doing like a meditative portion of it. Because it's like hypnotherapy. I don't know. If it doesn't hurt, I'll try it. Okay, let's go. So I'm like laying back. And I'm having my deep breaths. And we're doing like a body scan portion where you mentally go through like each part of your body and like relax it and tense it and relax it. Progressive muscle relaxation. That's what it is, not body scanning. Although the two kind of overlap. We get to my torso and Voya crawls on my chest. And then he stays there throughout the whole session until we get to the point of you're going to feel yourself coming back to whatever your reality is. I don't know how to do voiceovers for these things. And count down from 10 to 9 to 8. Once we got to 5, then he got up and he's like, okay, my job here is done. But it was quite relaxing to have him on me, and I didn't bring it up, but she offered to do it. She's like, if he helps you, you can have that. Boy got a job without even applying for it. He just showed up and did the work, and then he got a job. Like a weighted blanket, exactly. And he purred the whole time. Honestly, I think he did help with it. The last time we did that, I had a panic attack. And I don't know. Sometimes I don't do well with, like, just... It's like a bad trip, but you're not tripping. I get too in my head trying to relax, and then I can't, and then I feel claustrophobic, and I feel like I'm gonna crawl out of my skin, and then it goes bad. So Voya helped deeply with that, and he's gonna be a working man now. I just think that's so funny. I didn't even ask. She's like, do you want him to be? Yes. Healing and selfhood and animal rights. There's certainly some laws behind this one. Do you read to me while I drift off sometimes? That is true. I did enjoy going through Hitchhiker's Guide with Gigi and you guys. Right now, she just really likes when, excuse me, I'm doom scrolling. That's her happy place. Doom scrolling and just saying random little things, but it would not be amusing for me to doom scroll on stream. It's not daycare, it's night care. Like night guard. Boy, is the night guard. About time he earns his keep. Man's got to get a job. Yes, you do. My goodness, get some state pay here. Just kidding, the state would not pay him, but I want to see the other ones. Why won't you loan the other ones, you pooper? It's okay, but like, did I already open that one? I feel like it did. I think it did. Oh no, it was animal welfare in the clinic versus animal behavior and welfare. What other ones would be suggested with it? In the clinic, equine. I'm assuming whatever 8 ones won't load for the other one will just be under these. I do not have what it takes to be a veterinarian because I'm a big pussy ass bitch and I cannot handle the emotional toll that it takes. Animals self in society look similar to animals in society. This one might be kind of hard to take, but would probably be worth taking. And do like 1 or 2 a month. So there's what? 2, 4, 6, 7 of them that I like. So that's the next 3 months. That works. That's no biggie deal. This would be another one that would be hard to take, but still worthy information. And there's 2 more. That one we already looked at. Animals and society specialization. Voya has a very, very particular set of skills. He lays on me, and then I can function. Some of these are really short. They're only like 15 hours long. That makes me happy. I'm glad I looked at those tonight. Yay! A lot of those courses are from Boulder. It's a pretty decent school. Dang! I don't even look at what schools they come from. It's just like, give me information. I don't care. Although, I get emails sometimes. I think I took a class from Duke, and they offer a lot of their things online, and every once in a while I get an email from them that a new class is being offered. So I think Duke allows a lot of their classes to be audited too, which is, it's really neat setup. Highly recommend if anyone just wants useful knowledge or useless knowledge for as close to free as it will probably get in this modern world. Coursera. I wonder if I still have it on my phone. No. Wow, what a shameful learner. Coursera didn't make it to this phone from the old phone. I haven't learned shit since before summer 2024. Yeah, that's when my phone would have been replaced. Because it was right before Texas. Texas was 2024. Yeah, because it definitely wasn't last year. Very unlearned of me indeed. Smooth brain. Head empty. No thoughts. It is right now anyway. She is a tired girl. Speaking of, oh, the double yawn. That was extra intense. Jeez Louise. Head isn't empty, just full of cats. I'm just bouncing around. Right now they're all curled up and sleepy. Oh my gosh. That would be nice though. I could either dive into something like hardcore and then take a couple of like hours of my life out of it for it, or I'm trying to get back into the habit of doing my little posty posts, which Tigra has gifted me with, now barking when he's alone. Not at night, thankfully, but during the day, so I got interrupted with Gigi today. I'm trying to get all my posty posts done while I'm in with Gigi, but now that I have another secluded half hour, or at the very least half hour with almost Gunther, I could do little school stuff with him. I need like time slots that something else sets for me to be able to do the things that I want to do, if that makes sense. I feel like I got so much editing done on time, well, completely, just magnificently scheduled, because I had to be in a secluded place to watch my niece and nephew, and then they would be asleep, and then I have XYZ amount of time to do my own thing before mom or dad gets home. And same thing with like classes, school-wise. I got so much school stuff done in that period of time where they were growing up, because I had nothing else to do for that time. I had to be there, and wasn't at home most of the time, so I didn't have all of my stupid little things to do around with. I just was there, and I had the time to do it. And I think I want to seclude that to his time and keep up with my posty post for Gigi time. I need to blow my nose. I'm about to be a snotty girly. I'm trying to hold it in, and I'm not succeeding. I will be right back. That's very fun, huh, Voya? Say yes. Yes, it is. I hate blowing my nose. I hate it. I'm good about doing what I need to do if it needs to be done, but if it's optional, I definitely have the mentality at home of like, I can do it later, I can do it another day if it doesn't fit perfectly into a box of empty time. Could let AGPG and Walker do some learning with you too. Yes. Precisely. Maybe he would enjoy it, I don't know. The biggest part of like socializing cats is literally just ignoring them, which sounds counterintuitive, counterproductive, but it works. They just the less you seem to care about their existence, the more willing to be in your existence they are when they're still learning how to be friendly again. Hello, boss man. I see you. So kind of ignoring them would be the best, and I think almost Gunther would like that. That's why I checked if it was on my phone. I should download the app. My phone is full, but I don't think the app is very big. And I don't download the... What's it called? Where did I just look for this? I don't download the courses to like look at offline later. You just look at it where it is. Can watch some lectures and take notes with him. Today my GG time got interrupted by a barking tiger though. He got upset. And that's okay. I think that's his only bad trait so far, which is not bad at all. He just barks when he's uncomfortable. And I think he'll get over that soon, because he's at, what, like the almost 1 month mark now? So we're going to start to see who he really is now. And then by the end of May, Diesel's birthday, we'll see who he is 100%. By the 333 rule anyway. He's such a good boy. Pippi loves him so much. Like, he has put so much energy into her stride. It's wonderful to see. It's really wonderful. I'm still working on my bond with him. And it's not like I'm not trying to bond with him. It's just hard. I don't know. It's not hard because of him. It's hard because I'm me. But Pippi is so happy with him, and I'm so glad he's here. So glad he's here. Walker, what do you think about that name, son? Is he gonna poke his head out about it? Re-download it from the cloud. What is he doing? Oh wait, we won't be able to see because he pulled up the body pad thing. He's poking his ear out and listening to us. I see one side of an ear. I wonder if he's actually on the blanket next to it, and that's why he pushed it up. He was listening to us. And then decided to poop on my words, maybe. He's such a silly guy. He's much more confident about moving around than Void is. I don't know if that's just because he's a male, or... It's good to see, though. Oh, who was by? The fat raccoon. I think the fat raccoon had her baby. She's looking skinny. Not skinny, but like way less fat. She has a shorter tail. That's the only reason I can tell the difference. I think Gigi was out playing. Big stretch. Her little naked belly. She's using the scratch pad finally. I almost took it out of there the other day because it was like, you never use this. And then she started using it. You'll end up talking to him with a southern accent if his name becomes Walker. Walker. You good boy. Very good boy. Boy. I think that is quite possible. I can see it happening. We gotta think this over. I'll ask him if he likes it tonight. Or next time I bring the camera in there, I'll ask you guys to ask him. So only share his thoughts with men, maybe. It's possible. You guys share your secrets with each other. Oh yeah, is it eat time? I think it's eat time. I'll start purring Southern too. How do you purr Southern? Purr, purr, purr. How do you add twang to a purr? Purr, purr. I just do like an Elvis lip. Purr. I don't think that's right. Purr, purr, purr. I don't think that's how that goes. I can't wait to hear him purr though. No, roll the R's. Purr. Purr. It reminds me of the sound that Tank makes. He does like a little murr with his meow. Murr. 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 The purr and the murr. From the streets to the sheets. Welcome, Working Soul. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Tank, a fancy southern boy. I mean, he is Tank / Big Daddy, and Big Daddy is, I feel like, a southern nomenclature. So, God, I would pay good money to see Tank as a kitten and take him in as a kitten, but like, oh, I bet he was the cutest baby. I know he's like extra funny looking because of his bad back leg, and he would have looked normal as a kitten, but I can't in my head stop seeing him as this like big head, big chested, just monster of a little baby kitten. I would pay good money for that. He's a very fancy southern boy. He has good manners now. Though he was a little shit the other day, and we were sitting on the bed. We have a system worked out now. So when we're on the floor, all bets are off. You can attack mom. But if we're on the bed, 99% of the time, it's love time, and we do not attack. But he changed his mind at the last second the other day, and he like latched onto my shoulder so hard. There's one tiny little red spot. So it actually wasn't that bad, but Lord, he just got on there. He just latched on there. It's a choose your own adventure. It is bedtime, but it's a choose your own adventure. Like a brick shithouse from the front. He's so built. He's built like a tank. He's a tank. It's the perfect name for him. It's the perfect name for him. He's such a miracle to me. They all are, but he's such a miracle to me. Welcome, Space. I hope you're having a good night so far. He's just such a good boy. I think almost Gunther will be a good boy. Crossing fingers and paws. I think PB might stream tomorrow, so I'll probably be trying to give almost Gunther some up close and personal. Can't say purr again. It makes me laugh. Get some up close and personal temptations and see what our swat status is. Very, very carefully, very mindfully with thick sleeves. Thick sleeves. I have driving gloves that are like not very clunky, but are kind of thick. And I think I might wear those too, just in case. I don't know. I talked to my vet about this, and as much as it keeps you safe, and it's a good choice, arguably, to have like protection on, like bike gloves and whatnot, it's kind of scary for them because there's this big giant thing coming at them, and more for the sake of their mentality, it's not a good idea. But in order to get close and do things and exist with them, sometimes you have to wear them. But I did ask when I had Tank, like, should I use oven mitts? Should I get bike gloves? Like, I don't want to get murdered here. My vet's like, you gotta live and learn. Don't use the gloves. Okay. That's why we use the grabber tool. Although arguably that's probably scary too, but I think a lot of rescues like to use, I don't think I have anything similar close except the mallet, but not a mallet, like a long, like forked thing to do head scratches and stuff. Probably like a back scratch or something similar to that, but I feel like that's scary too. Like, wouldn't it weird you out if like something was just coming at your face like that and you weren't expecting it? It's nerve-wracking. I wouldn't like it. It would make me uncomfortable. Welcome, West End. I hope you're having a good night tonight. Oh, that's a good question. Where are my glasses? Do sunglasses count? I think for the rest of my life, I'll be in a state where being on antibiotics is a whole thing. unfortunately. That's the only thing that worries me too, is I don't want to have to like go to the doctor for anything. I'm willing to get hurt, but I don't want to have to go to the doctor for it. I think tomorrow I'll attempt just with my driving gloves and a longer hoodie and be cautious. It's not dangerous, like everyone's up to date on their shots, but I don't want to have to deal with it. That's like 6 hours of my time that I don't want to go and sit in an office. Although I'm immune to Voya's bites by now, I think. Voya bites me almost every day when I'm doing his meds. He doesn't mean to. He just closes his mouth a little faster than I can move my finger. And he bit this one like halfway through my finger when I was doing his meds the other day, and it never swelled up. I wonder if like snakes, if you can get immune to certain cats' spit if they bite you repeatedly. Or Voya just has a really clean mouth. I don't know. Where are my glasses? I have no idea. I think they're in the kitchen. I think they are. We can have an educated sign off for tonight. Hi, Mr. Vegan. Hello, Bubbaloo. I found them. They were in my purse. I mean, I don't want to get bit, but I don't mind getting bit, but I shouldn't get bit, which is annoying. Alright, Club Quote, we're gonna get some rest. But thank you all for a wonderful night. Thank you for your time, thank you for your chats, thank you for your support, and thank you for your company. More than anything, thank you for your time. Time is very valuable, and it is not free. It is one of those finite things that you only get so much of, and just do whatever you want with. And when you're able to spend it here, when you even want to spend it here by chance, I am oh so grateful, oh so humbled, and oh so appreciative. Thank you all. It means the world to me. You can make more money, you can make more friends, you can make more silly little controllers, you can make more ratchety ass chapstick. Do not make more time, and thank you for yours. Look ready for some coursework. I put Coursera on my phone, and I might start just looking at one of the I want to call it a webinar, but one of the recordings of the course when I'm in with Mr. in a little bit. Now I'm motivated. You gotta stay on the train. You gotta see the train, you gotta jump on the train and stay on the train. Because if you leave it for tomorrow, the next day, or the next day, or the next day, you'll never get on the train. Aw, thank you. Hope you get some good eats and some good sleeps tonight. And thank you very much. Zoo will eat good. Pippi officially eats soft food now. She was struggling for a couple of meals. She has like no teeth left, and the teeth that she does have are going bad. I just can't in good conscience yet have all of her teeth pulled. Like, I'd like her to try and keep the ones that she has left. That would be ideal. But now I'm making her soft food, so she is eating good. She's a happy girl. She's a very happy girl. They will definitely have their good eats. Can I talk to you sometime? I'm right here. I'm going to bed right now, but you're welcome to check the schedule and pop in for next stream. I think I do want to start tonight, though. I'm overly curious. I don't know. Maybe my motivation will run out by then, and I'll just be a tired girl, but it's possible. I'll report back tomorrow or the next day. And let us know. Serena spam incoming. Incoming! That was a big stretch. If you guys want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff. The socials. Some more fun stuff. The sketch for when I will see you Bebs next. And thank you all for being a part of the Stream the Dreams project. Thank you for always listening to me yap about my crazy cat lady life. It's a heavy burden, and a heavy burden for you all, and a rare gift for me, and I appreciate it very much. You are all wonderful. Club Cult, you are the bee's knees, and I appreciate the heck out of you. And the thing froze. Okay, now it's back. That was a very awkward half of a yawn. That was just my body expelling the last ounce of energy that I have. It was like a zombie capsizing. That was beautiful. Cheers to you all, you wonderful humans. Do me one favor until I see you next, and that is remember that you are wonderful, amazing, incredible, spectacular, phenomenal, fantastic, all the good things in the world. Oh, so gorgeous. Take all those compliments and put them in your... I'm lazy. I'm gonna put their toy under my chair. In your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation, wherever it needs to go until I see you next, you sweet bubbos. Have a beautiful rest of your night. Get some good eats, get some good eeps, make good choices. Don't do anything Voya or I wouldn't do. We clearly do many things, so choose your own adventure on that one. But I shall see you for the next one, Club Cult. And thank you again for everything. Get some good eeps. Thank you all for being here tonight. It seems like you kind of avoid me, sir. It is bedtime. Technically, I'm both avoiding and not avoiding everyone right now. It's not personal. All the smooches for all the babies. Thank you, Midnight Dynamite. You guys get some good rest, and I shall see you for the next one. Club Cult, I salute you. You are wonderful. Good nighty, 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 night.